These are the memory slots that you can use. You simply put them in like so, right? You have plenty of space. It's dual channel, what it appears to be as well. And since I'm playing around with this cable here, this is our power supply cable. So let's have a look how to replace the power supply in case it goes out or, you know, something like that. So you have actually 3 cables that come from the power supply unit. Actually, I should say 3 bundles, right? But it's 3 plugs, one here, one there, and one here. So you would basically unplug those first. Let me see if you get a good angle of this. Here, this is what I'll do here, right quick. All right, give you a little bit another angle there. There's our other connector. And if you want the easier access to that, you can simply remove this air guide. Once you remove the wire from this part here, right? And that just clips here, really easy, simple to remove. That way you get a little bit more extra room to work on this, right? And in order to do this, you just press on the little tab here. You see how it actually squeezes in right there. You just squeeze it like so, right? So we got one cable disconnected. Here's our second one for the power supply. So we got P1, P2, and P3, right? This is P1, P2, and P3. Same thing. You really can't mess these up, right? So now that you're done, you just have to release this part that's holding these cables. Okay, we're almost done here. And then in order to actually remove the power supply, there are a few screws back here. And let me show you. There are 4 screws, or 3, I'm sorry, 3 screws there. Once you do that, you just press this button here, right here, and then you can just take out the power supply. After that, it's very self-explanatory. Okay? So if for some reason you need to replace the heatsink or you want to replace your CPU, you just need a flathead screwdriver like this. I hope it focuses in for you guys. And then you simply use this and then you unscrew it counterclockwise. And this will pop out. This will pop out and then you can remove the heatsink. I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to have to replace the thermal paste that's underneath, but it's very simple. You just do that and you unplug your fan, which is right there, and then you just pull this hole out, and that's how that works, right? The most important thing is actually upgrade a video card. This is what most folks want to do when it comes to their new computers. And of course, we can look at that this way. We have a couple of different slots that we want to look at. These are all PCI Express slots. These are ×1, these small ones. This black one is ×16, this one is ×4, right? So here's the thing. You have to make sure you have a low profile video card in order to use it in this. And obviously you want to use 16 times. However, if you do have to use 4 times, you will lose some performance, but not a huge amount, right? So if you have to use because of the shape of the video card or something like that, then you can use 4 times if you really wanted to, still get a huge boost. But however, you want to try to aim for this 16 times. And for that, you're going to need a video card that's a small profile like so, right? And you simply insert it in here and then you just drop it in whenever you're ready. For this, I will actually make a separate video for the video card. So if you're here just for the video card, just wait for the end of this video. I will post a link at the end of it as a thumbnail, so you make sure you click it, also in the description box below. And if you're interested in this specific PC, there will be a link in the description box below as well. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Share with friends. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'll be glad to help you with any questions that you may have. So do not hesitate to ask me anything. I will certainly help you out. Alright guys, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. As a PC professional, I get this question all the time. How do I make my computer faster? And a lot of times, folks are talking about their laptops. In this case, I'm going to go over an HP 8470P, which is an older laptop. It's about 5 years old, but it still has decent spec. For example, it comes with an i5. So of course, we're going to want to get as much as we can out of it by upgrading it or replacing some of the components that make it a little bit faster. In this video, we're going to concentrate on how to replace RAM and our hard drive. The best thing we could do for our hard drive is replace it with a solid state drive, especially in a computer that's this old. If you're interested in buying this type of laptop, I'll post an affiliate link in the description box below. Also to a decent solid state drive that you can use to upgrade this computer. So here we have our 8470p laptop. Now let's see how we can upgrade and or swap out parts on it. Let's just go ahead and flip it over on the back side like we normally do. And we always know that there's a back plate in here, so we're going to have to remove this back plate. But first we need to do is remove the battery, right? We don't want any leftover residual charge left in that could cause damage to any of your components, especially the new ones that you're putting back in. So how do we remove the battery? There's a little tab here, and you can see a little sign here for the battery, and it tells you to kind of push this tab over to the right. In your case, the way you're looking at it's going to be to your left. So you just push on it until you see it red, and it has actually a little spring on it, so you have to kind of hold on to it, and then simply you just pull out the battery back here. Now, in order to remove this back plate that covers all of our components, it's kind of similar to it, except it's this other tab, and you can see there's a little sign here that you can, kind of go by that tells you that it's going to remove the back plate. So it's the same deal. You push it, in my case, to my left and your right, and then you just kind of push it back, this whole thing. Again, hold it because it's on a spring. Push it back, and it doesn't actually slide out. Once it comes out, just a little bit like so, you would have to just lift it out, right? And then obviously you can let go of your little tab. So first thing we have here are a few components that you can change out. Some of them are very self-explanatory, but I'll go ahead and go over some of the typical ones that you might want to upgrade or swap out. First thing, here's our Wi-Fi adapter. It's very simple. There's just 2 screws here, right? 2 screws here, and then you pop it out. Let's go ahead and try that. This is our Wi-Fi adapter. In case it goes bad, you take the little screws out, put them to the side, and after we do this, it simply just slides out. You see how it pops up? This is very typical. It kind of pops up on its own. Don't pull by the wires. See if you can grab it by the component itself, and then just tug on it, right? Right. So that's in case your Wi-Fi adapter dies out. Same thing, put it back in. You just kind of put it on an angle. You see how it's a little tilted on an angle? That's how it goes in first. And then you can freely just push it down. Okay, and then you get your little screws. Luckily this screwdriver is a little bit magnetic, so that helps a little bit. Typically you don't want any magnetic components around your computer equipment, but in this case just a little bit of magnetism helps, to put it back in, to kind of get a better hold of these little screws. You see how small they are? So that's really helps. Let's look at our RAM. So this is our RAM. If you want to upgrade it, this one's already upgraded, or this already has, well, you can say it's upgraded. These are 4 GB sticks. So in order to remove them, these little tabs here, you just have to push them out like that, like so, and it's going to basically release the tension on the memory connector, which is right here, and this thing is going to go up a little bit, similar to our Wi-Fi adapter. You see how it pops up, and then you just slide it out. And in order to put the new RAM back in, you just do a reverse. Make sure it goes all the way in, so you pretty much don't see most of this copper connectors. And then you push it down. Feel free to push it down, and then it's going to snap in. And you just kind of make sure that these little tabs are snapped back in. And there you go. That's how you upgrade your RAM. Now let's go to the main thing that's most likely you will be changing in order to provide better performance for this 5-year-old laptop, and that is to change the hard drive out, right? So in order to remove this hard drive, we have to kind of pull on this little, it's kind of a weird adapter bracket that we have going on here. But you can see the little arrow that's pointing that way. We just kind of have to pull on it because there are 2 tabs here, one here and one there, that are holding this bracket in, right? This whole contraption in. So we just have to kind of pull on it, like so. You see how these tabs were being held actually by this here, this little pieces of plastic? They were basically shoved in right there. So we just have to pull on to kind of, separate it. Okay, now just kind of leave that aside here. In order to actually remove the hard drive, we have 3 screws that we have to deal with. It's like there's one here, and there are 2 here, right? And they're all on springs. This is very typical. So first I'm going to remove this one here. This just kind of, what this does, you see it's on a spring, it's actually not going to, you know, fall out or anything like that. That's just by design. So it's on a spring, it's going to stay like that. As soon as the spring pops up like that, you know it's released. You don't have to force it any further. Same thing with these. I'm going to unscrew this one. And I'll show you a little spring that's on there. This one's almost out. I think that's good. Same thing with this one. Okay, almost there. Okay, so that's released. Now in order to remove the hard drive, you see how there's a little gap here? We have a little gap action there. That's the whole point of it, is so you can actually push the hard drive that way. And you can actually use this little tab to help you out. So in order to remove it, we have to slide it that way, right? We have to slide it there. That's why there's a little room left there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. See, very simple. This is why that tab is designed. Now you can see that your hard drive is released, right? Here's your serial connector and here's your power connector, right? These are very similar to your desktop, right? And now you just basically pull it out like this. And now if you want to put in a new solid state drive, which by the way I will put the link in the description for a decent solid state drive that you can use to replace this with, it would be very simple to install. So let's go ahead and remove it. In order to remove from this metal plate, you have to basically unscrew these screws here. Let's go ahead and do that. So that's one. You know what, I'm just going to use this a little bit. Here is a leverage point so you guys don't see my hands trembling. Okay, now that we have our screws loose, right? I tell people sometimes I have screws loose, you know, because, you know, it's funny. Anyways, now that our screws are out, we can basically just take out our hard drive. Take it out like so. And just kind of remember how it's positioned so that way you can align it that way. Basic rule on this one is you just basically kind of look at the electrical components that are kind of exposed here. They always go down, so they're protected by this back plate, right? The same thing, your solid state drive is going to look just like this when it comes to components. Obviously it's going to be plastic, it's not going to have moving parts. And you put it back in reverse, like that. Put your screws back in. We're almost done here. I'm putting in my last screw. Okay, now in order to put it back in, make sure it's aligned properly to here. You can always kind of have a look. You see how this is aligned that way? You can always visually check. You can see how they align just like so, right? Now we know we are facing the right position. Good rule of thumb on this one is look at to see if you can see the copper color components there. And then you just basically just kind of let it fall in, honestly. Just let it fall in. Now it's in the right position. Now all we got to do is just push it that way. Remember how we pulled this way? Now we just have to push it back in. And you can actually hold on to the plate, this metal plate as well. It's actually very easy to push it back in. And then we just retighten our screws. We don't want to leave any screws loose. Screws loose. Okay, that's done. Push this back in. Again, pull on this little tab so the little tabs pull back in. And now all we got to do is put our cover back on in reverse. Remember, we had to leave a little bit of gap when we pushed it out, so we're just going to, you know, just lay it flat like so, and just pull on it like this. We have to pull on the little tab and push it back in. Okay, that's good. And similar with our battery that we pushed back in. Make sure that these things are locked so it's not red. And there you have it, guys, ready to go. If you're interested in buying this laptop, I will go ahead and post a link to Amazon in the description box below, affiliate link, and also solid state drive, very affordable solid state drive in the description box below. Guys, I wish you best of luck. Now you have a really decent laptop with an i5 and a solid state drive that should serve you for a long time. Good luck to you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. In this video we're transferring the insides of an Elite desk computer into a full-size case. This allows us to upgrade to a full power supply and full-size GPU.
So this is how you do it. You would take the lid off first, put that aside, and then take this computer and just put it in. Wow, this is actually good. I can't believe it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Let's get serious about this. So here's our HP 800 G2 Elite Desk PC. If you're unsure which one you have, there's a link in the description so you can compare it to yours, but it should be similar to 800 G1 and G3. Also, some of the older PCs may apply to as well. So if you have an older version of HP, chances are it will work as well. So what are some of the concerns when it comes to putting this inside of an aftermarket case? The main concern is obviously the motherboard. Is this motherboard going to fit inside of that case? Will it align properly? Will I be able to tighten it down, screw it down, or will it even fit in the back when it comes to this back panel connectors? Well, I did some research and I actually made a custom back panel for this that will go inside of the aftermarket case. Because you've noticed here, this one is actually not removable. This is part of the case. So if you transfer the motherboard to anything else, you're not going to have a plate, back plate for the connectors. It's just going to be a hole. Wherever you see metal here, it's just going to be a hole. But I made a 3D printed custom plate for myself, so that way I shouldn't have this problem at all. And hopefully that works out. So that's our major problem. In this case, we're going to concentrate on that major problem, is the transferring of the motherboard and everything that's connected on top of it to make sure it fits. Because if the motherboard doesn't fit, then what's the point? We can't do anything else. Hard drives and everything else, I'm not worried about because everything is just connected to the serial connector, and that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. The other thing is the power supply. Power supply is smaller. It still may fit, but there might be a hole in the back there. But that's okay. That's one of the reasons to upgrade to a bigger case, so you can upgrade to a bigger power supply. So if we move this over, if I pop this open like this, so we're going to transfer it hopefully into the new case as well, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. But if you're upgrading to another power supply, you may have to get an adapter that allows you to transfer to these type of connectors. There's a link in the description for that if you're doing this, so don't worry about that. You can definitely buy them. They're not super expensive or anything like that. So here's an example of a panel that goes in the back here, and we don't have this. This is just from another motherboard, so we need to have a custom one, otherwise we're just gonna have a hole. And again, I made that in the 3D printed, so I'm good there. Another concern is whether we're gonna be able to power it on and off. So what do I mean by that? The front panel, right here, has a switch. Hopefully we can just connect it to the aftermarket case, and we'll see what just happened. We're just gonna have to test it out. This is a test in progress. With all these things in mind, I don't necessarily recommend that you do this like I'm doing, but if it's successful, hey, if you want to do it, that's fine. Just do it at your own risk, just so you know. All right, guys? All right, let's start taking this apart. We're going to start with removing the power supply first. We're going to disconnect the power cables here. While I'm at it, I'm going to disconnect the front panel as well. Okay. I'm going to disconnect everything that's on here, USB, all the serial cables. I'm going to disconnect all of these. All of this is disconnected. I want to make sure it's out of the way so we can start unscrewing stuff. So as you can see, these type of PCs, they use Torx type of screw, as you can see here. But you can also use a flathead like this, which is what I'm going to use, because I forget where my Torx screw is at, but I do have one. Alright, I'm going to move this flap like this. I'm going to disconnect the power supply wire like this, and I'm going to unplug it here. There's one more connector here that's plugged for the power supply. Alright, I'm going to remove that. Back of this for the power supply has 3 screws. I'm going to remove those as well. Alright, with the screws removed, there's a button here that you just press down and then slide the power supply like so. I'm just going to set it down here because it's easier to show. Like this. So you press the button down and just pull it out. I'm going to remove the serial cable to get that out of the way. Okay, there's our power supply. So we got 8 screws to remove. There's one there, one there, one there. There's one there, one there, one there, 7, and then 8 right there. So I'm just going to remove those. I definitely recommend a Torx screw for this because it's not easy to remove with a flathead. So here's a problem. The whole motherboard is actually being held down through the heatsink onto the case itself on the back side back here. All right, well, let me see if we can work our way around that. I'm going to remove the heatsink as well and then see if we can let it come loose. The problem is attaching it back into the original case, so that's not going to work. So what that means is that we have to get another heatsink for this. That might work for it. Maybe. We'll see. I'll give it a shot. I have a spare heatsink that we can try, but I'm not sure if it's going to work. I'm going to remove it and see. Alright, I'm going to disconnect the fan, CPU fan here. I'm going to remove the heatsink. Alright, now the motherboard is finally free, so I'm going to take it out. Oh, I forgot to disconnect something here. So I'm going to take it out, I'm going to slide it like so. We're going to take it out, and hopefully our heatsink that I have will work on that. We'll see. I'm going to test it out actually right away before we actually do anything else. But you can see where it was attached, where it was holding down to the back of this through the motherboard using the heatsink. Here's a quick comparison of the motherboard that came out of the HP computer, and here's an aftermarket one. This is from an older computer, but these are the standard size ATX motherboards. Compared to this one, the holes actually do align for the motherboard to be screwed down. Here, let me show you the side view here. So I'm very hopeful that the back will fit properly inside the new case. You can see that this one is actually thicker, while this one is longer. So let's give it a shot, guys. If I'm lucky, this CPU that is coming off of i7 4770 will fit on top of this, which I think it may, but we'll just have to see if it works. So of course, before you do this, make sure you clean it, the thermal paste, carefully, and then reapply the new one. Don't go too crazy. I'm just gonna see if it fits, just for the sake of moving the video along. All right, it's aligned. Looks like it's going to work. Let's see. Wow, that actually connected. Has a good connection. Wow, I'm surprised. All right, well, let me see if this connects properly. Perfect. That's amazing, guys. All right, now let's see if we can put it into the aftermarket case. Let's see. So just to show you real quick, I did a 3D print of the back panel. So if you don't have a 3D printer, just figure something out. Maybe if you use some really thin aluminum, maybe you can cut it to size or something, or you can just leave the holes there, but it's up to you. I decided to make a little 3D print out of that. All right, let's have a look, see if this will align. I will try to get the best angle as I can for you. Hopefully this works. So far, it's looking all right. All right, I think that's gonna work, guys. Let me see here. Wow, it actually aligned. It's already in there because there's one part of it that's already holding it properly. Wow, this is actually going to, I can't believe it. How's it looking back there? Oh my God. Oh my God, I can't believe this. This is actually going to work. Honestly, I did not think it was going to work properly. Well, there's still ways to go, guys, so let's see how it goes. But I'm going to get the screws down. Hopefully those align properly. And, we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to try to turn it on afterwards, so stick around for that. All right, so far so good. I'm not going to worry about a couple of these screws here for now. I just want to see if this thing will work. Obviously, you can move these standoffs, and hopefully there's a place to screw them down, so you can put those in there as well. But here's the main reason. There's the main reason to see if this is actually going to work. I know I can get the power supply turned on and everything running right now. But let's see if I can put a full-size video card in here with this motherboard. Right? Wouldn't that be very important? I'd say it is. Let's see if we can do that. Alright, so here's a full-size video card. Alright. Looks like we're going to have to unscrew this one. I'm going to open this up real quick. I mean, what's the point of doing this if you can't install a full-size GPU in this thing, right? That's the main thing. That's the main reason. And of course to upgrade the power supply as well. Is it aligning? Oh my God. Guys, do you see that? Do you see that? Oh my God. It actually works. Look at that. Would you look at that? It works. It fit perfectly. Oh my God, look. That's just amazing. That's amazing. Wow, I'm glad that works. So you can put any size of video card, guys. Any size. Any size. Again, if you're looking for this type of stuff, to make sure that the video card can be used, like if it's a high powered one, you're going to need extra power. And this thing is not going to do it for you. You're going to have to upgrade to a full size power supply. And of course these connectors, they're not designed to go in here. You need this one has a 6-pin, two 6-pins that go in there, and for that you need a full power supply, or you would need an adapter for this for sure, but it ain't gonna handle it. So you're gonna need a new power supply. And of course, if you're interested in any of that, there are links in the description for anything you guys need. Check it out. For now, I'm just gonna remove it because I want to see if it can power on properly. Because now our main issue, I mean, this is so amazing that it works, is make sure that it actually powers up, you know? So let's do a power supply here real quick. So I got the power supply temporarily installed. Definitely, again, you need the actual full-size power supply. This is just temporary. I just want to see if it'll work. And you can see here that it's just only held by a couple of screws up here. And this is going to be an issue for the power cord as well. But you know what? I just want to see if it'll work, right? All right, let's get it. So I'm going to plug in all this stuff. Hopefully it reaches. All right. Good. 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 So this is our audio. Let's see if it works on this one here. Here's the plug for the audio. Front panel. Wow, that works. All right, great, great. I am so constantly surprised at how well this stuff works. So what's our other thing? We need to check. This is our front USB. This goes here. Wow, so far great, guys. Look at this. Look at that. Would you look at that? Here's our system fan connector. Let's see if it works here. So far I'm suspecting that it will. That connects just fine. And our front power on panels, here they are. Oh yeah, before I forget, here is the cable that powers your drive. So whatever you have, you know, a hard drive or a solid state drive. So this is the one that goes here. You don't need this when you get a different power supply. But this time we're going to have to transfer it over if you're not upgrading your power supply. So that's that. For our reference, a regular power supply will have this 24-pin connector that goes directly into the motherboard. Again, there's an adapter you can get in the link in the description that allows you to connect to here. It basically transfers this into that, so that way you can just use it. Okay, one quick note. Here is the power switch. It goes to here like so. So in this second connector right there, that's the power switch. I had to do a little bit of experimentation to see which one is which. Same thing, it goes for if you want to connect other stuff, you have to route other stuff to it. and whether you want the hard drive light or not, power LED, and reset switch as well. I'm assuming reset switch is kind of next to it. So, but I know this is going to work. We're going to test it right now. And now, a moment of truth, and there it is. It powers on. All right, guys, that's awesome. Now I'm going to make sure that everything is actually working as it should be before I actually release this video. So don't worry about that. I do want to get to this point where I show that it works. So we can tell that everything fits fine, everything's connected, even the front USBs are connected. The front panel, you can just figure that out, which one goes where. But we do know that the power switch was the most important one, is working, and it's right there. We know if we want to upgrade the power supply, we can do so. There's an adapter you can buy, and the main thing I'm going to do right now is make sure I'm going to connect a hard drive here and make sure everything works before I release this video. If you're watching it, that means everything is working perfectly. So this is very, very surprising to me, but I am so glad that it does work because I get this question all the time, guys. If you want to connect some of these fans, extra fans, you can certainly do so once you get a new power supply. You can basically just plug it in like so. You see this one, this particular PC has, you can connect it directly, but these are old Molex connectors. The newer PCs and new power supplies, I should say, including the new cases, will have this type. So you would just basically plug it in, and then you would have system fan, which I highly recommend that you do. Extra system fan, because there's one up here, one up there. So there is that. I hope you like this video. Please share it. Leave a like. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. All right, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
This computer is $1,000. This computer is $200. They both have i5s, they both have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and they both have solid state drives. So what's the difference here? Obviously the looks, right? This is a gaming one, and this is a computer that's found in a business type of environment. They're usually refurbished. But they are much, much cheaper, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I will show you how to upgrade a video card on HP G1 or G2 desktop small form factor PC. Once I show you how to upgrade this video card, this will be a huge upgrade for our gaming, especially considering the fact that this computer has an i5-6500 CPU, which is amazing.
This way, in order to remove the lid, you just pull on the lever, lift it up, put it aside. Okay, so in order to install a video card, we just kind of have to move this part over here. And don't be afraid to actually pull in. This is actually by design. So if it's a little bit tough at first, just kind of force it through like this. You're not going to break anything. There's no button to press, but you just need a little bit more room to work with. Here's our 16 times PCI Express slot. This is what we need. This is a 4 times. If you have to install it in this, it would be okay. You would lose a little bit of performance, but still not too bad, right? But this is the one we want, the black one, which is 16 times PCI Express. Now we have this power cable, cable from the power supply we just need to remove. If you just want to slide these off a little bit, you don't actually have to disconnect it, but you can release it like this so you have more room to work with. Next thing we have to make sure is that we get the proper size. You need a low profile video card for this because it's a small form factor computer. So we want this one here. This one is too big. This one is just the right size, right? You see the difference? This will not fit because if you put it like down like this, there's no way. There's about an inch or so difference. There's no way this will fit in here, right? So we just have to make sure we get the proper low profile card, something like this, right? So the next thing we need to do is actually pop this spacer or separator here, and then we're going to pull one of these, preferably this last one here, depending on the shape of your card, but it will be most likely this here part of it, right? So this is just kind of a back plate, and then we're just going to put our video card in here like so. Now let me I actually, for this one, because my video card has actually a little extra here, I'm going to have to unplug my front USB panel connector. So these are basically the front USB connectors, right? So I'm just going to remove this for now, and we can replace this back later. All right, just going to remove this now. Also, make sure your video card does not require an extra power connector. This one has a 6-pin power connector. So your video card, just make sure it's not like one of these that have. But if you do, it's not a problem. You can still use it. You just have to make sure you have an adapter that goes with it. The ones that I will recommend in the description box below will not require this. So you don't have to worry about this at all, right? We just have to make sure that it fits properly, right? Now that we know, we just have to make sure that we align this with our PCI Express slot, which is like that there. So now we got to make sure that our connector here aligns properly with our PCI Express slot. You can see there's a little notch right there, just like there, right? So we just have to make sure that's aligned. Lastly, real quick, a lot of times there's a little notch in there here that basically helps to keep that allows this slot to the backplate to connect underneath here. So make sure you don't force that, otherwise you may be damaging your motherboard. So just be careful don't force anything, right? So just don't force anything, right? There's the little tab right there, and here's the little notch that we have to make sure we don't that we have to make sure our backplate is inserted in there. So don't force anything if you're struggling a little bit by inserting your video card in there. All right, and if you want to unplug this cable, you can certainly do so. So you just make sure I just like to go underneath it because it saves a little bit of time, and then make sure you align it properly to this here. All right, just take your time. Whatever you do, take your time. Don't ever get frustrated whenever dealing with computer components. Make sure it's aligned over the PCI connector right there, right? So make sure we're aligning our notches. And again, take your time. Make sure don't force nothing. Just make sure it's aligned. So once you know that everything's aligned properly, right? Then you can safely push it down, like so. Right? Now our video card is seated in properly and it's locked in by this little tab here. And now that video card is seated in there, all you got to do is put this flap back on, like so. Now it's fully secured. You're done with this part. And then lastly, don't forget to plug in your front USB panel connector, which is right underneath here. Lastly, a type of video card I actually suggest for this type of computer will be in the description box below as well, which I recommend is NVIDIA 1050 GTX.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video I will show you how to upgrade your 800G1, G2, G3 or even older models of HP EliteDesk to an i7 CPU. This is a really simple process, and make sure you stick around and watch the whole thing because I don't want you to make any mistakes. And if you have any questions regards to this, I will gladly help you, so just keep that in mind.
So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to remove this lid, open the case up and see what we can have access to. And from here it's incredibly simple. Now that we've removed the cover, we can remove this cable that it's attached to the fan cover for the heatsink and the CPU itself. So this just slides out like so. We're going to remove this cable here in a second after we move this flap. This is just an air duct that we're just going to move like that. We're going to leave it like that as it is. Now we're going to remove the fan cover, which these clips you just push down. That's when it unlocks. And then we're going to remove the heatsink cover. We're going to put that aside. We don't need that anymore. Now we're going to remove the P3 power cable that is attached there. And it's a simple clip. You just squeeze it like so. That's disconnected, and just in case you didn't see that, you press it like this, you squeeze it, and you let it separate like that, and then you pull it. With the full access to the CPU heatsink and the fan, we're going to remove it with a flathead screwdriver like so. You can also use a hex type of screwdriver, but you can also use this flathead. So I'm going to unscrew it just like this, counterclockwise. I'm going to loosen them all the way out. You hear him pop when it's released. Very simple, guys. This is very simple. Just take your time. When you hear it pop, you can just kind of wiggle it out. This one needs a little bit more. And now we can detach our fan, CPU fan I should say, and it's simple as that. There's nothing to it. You just plug it in, plug it back out. And you can see that this one has thermal paste that's installed on there. So if you're installing a brand new CPU, you have to make sure, or reinstalling a CPU in general, you have to make sure you apply a new amount of thermal paste in between. You can see this one is actually pretty evenly distributed, and this is all stock. This has never been changed. Now we have full access to the CPU and a zero force insertion lever. This is LGA 1151 for this type of CPU because this is a G2 model. So if you have a G1 model, 800 G1 Elite desktop, it's going to be 1150 socket. So just make sure that you do get that. There are links in the description for all of the models that you're using. And in case you have a specific model that's other than this, let me know and I'll find the CPU that is compatible with your computer, because some of them are not supported by BIOS. Just make sure you'll ask me first before you do anything. With the zero force insertion lever there, we're just going to press it down gently and we're going to pull it towards ourselves to unlock it. Just take your time, release it slowly, push it up like that, and then push this aside. You can just drop it there, it's not going to go anywhere. And to remove the CPU, you just gently grab it with 2 fingers. Once we have it up like that, it's a bit tricky. Okay. I don't want to use any tools on this, so I'm just using a nail here to kind of pick it up from the edge, just to lift it up gently. Hope you can see this. And then I'm going to lift it out. You can see the pins are exposed. Don't touch any of these connectors. So whenever you get your new one, you would basically reinstall it in reverse order. Make sure these notches are aligned. You can see that there is a notch there. There's a notch on the other side. And there are notches on the CPU that you're putting in as well. So you can't really mess that up. Just make sure you take your time and you drop it in slowly. So once you get your i7 or whatever it is that you're upgrading to, because you may have an i3 and want to upgrade to i5, just do it in reverse order. You just drop it like that, and you can gently drop it in there. And then just kind of make sure it's in there. You can see there's just slight movement there, maybe like a fraction of a millimeter, and that's perfectly fine. We know that all contacts are in there. We're going to put the zero force insertion back in there. We're just going to lower it like that. You don't have to worry about aligning anything there. Once you pull on this like this, you see how it automatically aligns to it. You see that? Very simple. And then gently push it back down. Reattach the zero force insertion lever. I always struggle with that one. And then reapply your paste. Your thermal paste, usually just a gentle dab, or maybe right here, or you can do it on the heatsink itself. Now I'm just showing you how to do this, and of course you would apply the new thermal paste. So I'm just showing you how to do it and put it back in there, right? Alright, and this is how you put the fan back in. Make sure that the fan connector is closer to this side because the fan connection is right there. Put it back in, make sure that these pins drop in, and they have screws. You can see that it has a thread in there. Let me show you. Maybe at this angle you can see it. It's actually threaded in there. There are no clips per se. They're just screwed in. Very simple. And now we're going to put back our heatsink on. Put our heatsink back on, I should say. And then we're going to take our time screwing it back on. This time clockwise. So just go a little bit here and then go crossways. A little bit there. You need to do a cross pattern. And then we're going to go this one here. What is that, about 3 turns? And then 3 turns here. And then got another 3 turns here. I mean, you can do as many turns as you feel comfortable with. Just to make sure that you do it evenly. So that way you have even distribution of the force on top of the heatsink. And now I should be feeling that it's getting tighter. And sure is. Just take your time. There's no rush. With this huge upgrade that you're getting, it's going to be great. Cross pattern. So that one's already a little bit tight. This one. This one. This one. And see, this one's tight. This one's tight. This one tight. And this one is tight. Now I'm just going to connect my fan back in there. I could have done that earlier, but that's okay, no big deal here. So I'm just going to connect the cable in there. That's that. And then last thing left to do is put our cover back on. Actually, let's do this before I forget. Makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to put my power cable back on. I'm going to connect my P3 like so. I'm trying to get a good angle for you guys. I'm just going to push it in, clips. I'm going to take this underneath, put it back on there, and then you just gently push it down here. There it is, and it's clipped. You just kind of make sure that these things are clipped in. And at this time I'm just going to, well, this can come down, doesn't matter. But I'm going to route my cable like so. There you have it, guys. If you have any questions, I'm here for you, so don't forget to ask me.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I will show you how to upgrade RAM or random access memory on HP G1, G2 small form factor desktop PC. Once we do this, this will be a huge upgrade to our machine, especially when it comes to gaming or video editing. I hope you guys like this video. There will be a link in the description box below for the proper parts that you need.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I'm going to show you how to install or upgrade RAM on 800 on HP 800 G1 or G2 small form factor computer. So once you have the lid open, which by the way it was super easy, you just pull the lever on here. Once you do that, just put it aside. With the computer case open like this, you can actually pull on this whole assembly front here, right? There's no button to press, but so feel free to just kind of pull it back to give you a lot more space to work with. Now we have access to our RAM. Now that we have access to our RAM, we can see that these are dual channel type of RAMs that you can put in here. Just make sure you're doing that you're using the correct type. And let me go ahead and pull this one open. So this one comes with only 4 gigs at the moment, but it can go up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm just going to pull this one out. In order to pull these out, and let me kind of demonstrate on the ones you can see, you just push on these little tabs on both sides, right? So this is what I'm going to do on this one. These are just little clips, I should say. Can just do that, and once you pull it out, you can see which type of RAM it is, right? So make sure you buy the correct upgrade for your computer, right? So this is an example of what you're looking for, and in order to reinstall this, we just have to make sure that these notches align. As you can see, they're clearly positioned there. You just have to make sure that it's aligned properly like so, and I'm going to install it in this white one because it's a little bit better to see. So the way you do it, you just kind of let it drop, make sure it's aligned properly, and then you push down on each end of the stick, right? This is the easiest way that I found to install RAM. So if you just simply push down evenly at the same time on both sides, it will pop in just like so, right? You just have to make sure you have good balance, and it's going to push these, you know, clips in for you by itself, and then you're done with that. Of course, I'm going to put it back into this other one. Do the same thing. So this is where it originally was. If you press down, just kind of make sure you go all the way to the edge on both hands and press down at the same time. And it goes in perfectly just like so.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I will show you how to upgrade to a solid state drive or additional hard drive on HP G1 or G2 desktop small form factor PC. This will be a huge upgrade to all kinds of things that we might be doing when it comes to video editing or even gaming, especially if we upgrade to solid state drive. Link in the description box below if you're interested in that type of product.
Hello guys, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we're going to upgrade or add a second hard drive to our HP 800 G1 or G2 type of computer. So with the computer facing down, we're just going to open the lid. If you just pull the lever up like so, you can lift it up like this, put it aside. And here's our access to our hard drive. The way you do this is actually you pull the lever if you're going to replace this one, and then pull it towards yourself and then lift up. Let me show you a little bit better angle of this. This whole contraption can be actually lifted like this. There's no button or anything like that, but here's the lever that's holding our hard drive in. So if we want to remove that, this is what I do. I usually just put it down like this, and then I pull towards yourself, right? Pull towards yourself, and then gently lift up, right? Once it's released from the clip, you can gently lift it up, and then you can disconnect these. These are very self-explanatory. You just pull them in and out, and you replace them, and then you put it in. And then after this, after I put this back in, you just have to be gentle when you do it. I will also add a second hard drive in there and show you how that's done, whether it's a solid state or something similar of size, or one of these regular 3.5-inch ones. So once you put it in, you just do this, basically the same thing in reverse. You push it down gently and then you push it away from yourself. Okay, now let's look what we have underneath. If we go like this, we can see that we have space for our solid state drive right here. So if we want to use something of that, this is actually a laptop drive, but it's the same size as our solid state. So if we want to install it here, we can certainly do so. We have extra connector here that we can use. And then once we're done, we will basically connect our connector here. And with the new hard drive, we will get an extra serial connector, which goes right here, serial cable. We would connect this like so, right? And then we can use our connector here to connect the second hard drive like so. I'm trying to get a good angle for you guys here. Like that, like this, like this. Okay, and now we can just, mount it, or you can mount it ahead of time. It's all up to you. And that's how we can install our solid state, or even if you want to, if you do choose just to have an extra hard drive laying around. So you just have to make sure the notches are aligned properly. And you can see, just take your time whenever you install any of these. Let me just move this a little bit back here so you guys can see a little bit better. Here's, we can put another full-size solid-state drive. So if these things are in your way, you can simply disconnect. This is just our front CD-ROM, right? We're just going to disconnect these here just to make space. Okay. Again, we have an extra power connector here. Put it in like so. Anyways, I'm just using an old hard drive as an example, but once you're put it in there and you have it screwed in and everything like that and it snaps in, you would basically connect the connectors like so. You got another power connector here, and then you got this extra serial cable that you can use. Alright guys, if you're interested in other videos that are related to upgrading RAM or the video card for this specific computer, I also have that. Look for it at the end of the video. There will be a thumbnail you can click on, also in the description box below. Thank you so much guys. If you're interested in a solid state drive, they'll go really good with this. There will be a link in the description box below as well. Thank you so much. Like, share, and tell friends about it. Have a good day. Bye 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 bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video I will show you how to upgrade your 800 G1, G2, G3 or even older models of HP EliteDesk to an i7 CPU. This is a really simple process, and make sure you stick around and watch the whole thing because I don't want you to make any mistakes. And if you have any questions regards to this, I will gladly help you, so just keep that in mind.
So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to remove this lid, open the case up and see what we can have access to. And from here it's incredibly simple. Now that we've removed the cover, we can remove this cable that it's attached to the fan cover for the heatsink and the CPU itself. So this just slides out like so. We're going to remove this cable here in a second after we move this flap. This is just an air duct that we're just going to move like that. We're going to leave it like that as it is. Now we're going to remove the fan cover, which these clips you just push down. That's when it unlocks. And then we're going to remove the heatsink cover. We're going to put that aside. We don't need that anymore. Now we're going to remove the P3 power cable that is attached there. And it's a simple clip. You just squeeze it like so. That's disconnected, and just in case you didn't see that, you press it like this, you squeeze it, and you let it separate like that, and then you pull it. With the full access to the CPU, heatsink, and the fan, we're going to remove it with a flathead screwdriver like so. You can also use a hex type of screwdriver, but you can also use this flathead. So I'm going to unscrew it just like this, counterclockwise. I'm going to loosen them all the way out. You hear him pop when it's released. Very simple guys, this is very simple. Just take your time. When you hear it pop, you can just kind of wiggle it out. This one needs a little bit more. And now we can detach our fan, CPU fan I should say, and it's simple as that. There's nothing to it, you just plug it in, plug it back out, And you can see that this one has thermal paste that's installed on there. So if you're installing a brand new CPU, you have to make sure, or reinstalling a CPU in general, you have to make sure you apply a new amount of thermal paste in between. You can see this one is actually pretty evenly distributed, and this is all stock. This has never been changed. Now we have full access to the CPU and a zero force insertion lever. This is LGA 1151 for this type of CPU because this is a G2 model. So if you have a G1 model, 800 G1 Elite desktop, it's going to be 1150 socket. So just make sure that you do get that. There are links in the description for all of the models that you're using. And in case you have a specific model that's other than this, let me know and I'll find the CPU that is compatible with your computer, because some of them are not supported by BIOS. Just make sure you'll ask me first before you do anything. With the zero force insertion lever there, we're just going to press it down gently and we're going to pull it towards ourselves to unlock it. Just take your time, release it slowly, push it up like that, and then push this aside. You can just drop it there, it's not going to go anywhere. And to remove the CPU, you just gently grab it with 2 fingers. Once we have it up like that, it's a bit tricky. Okay. I don't want to use any tools on this, so I'm just using a nail here to kind of pick it up from the edge, just to lift it up gently. Hope you can see this. And then I'm going to lift it out. You can see the pins are exposed. Don't touch any of these connectors. So whenever you get your new one, you would basically reinstall it in reverse order. Make sure these notches are aligned. You can see that there is a notch there. There's a notch on the other side. And there are notches on the CPU that you're putting in as well. So you can't really mess that up. Just make sure you take your time and you drop it in slowly. So once you get your i7 or whatever it is that you're upgrading to, because you may have an i3 and want to upgrade to i5, just do it in reverse order. You just drop it like that, and you can gently drop it in there, and then just kind of make sure it's in there. You can see there's just slight movement there, maybe like a fraction of a millimeter, and that's perfectly fine. We know that all contacts are in there. We're going to put the zero force insertion back in there. We're just going to lower it like that. You don't have to worry about aligning anything there. Once you pull on this like this, you see how it automatically aligns to it. You see that? Very simple. And then gently push it back down. Reattach the zero force insertion lever. I always struggle with that one. And then reapply your paste. Your thermal paste, usually just a gentle dab, or maybe right here, or you can do it on the heatsink itself. Now I'm just showing you how to do this, and of course you would apply the new thermal paste. So I'm just showing you how to do it and put it back in there, right? Alright, and this is how you put the fan back in. Make sure that the fan connector is closer to this side because the fan connection is right there. Put it back in, make sure that these pins drop in, and they have screws. You can see that it has a thread in there. Let me show you. Maybe at this angle you can see it. It's actually threaded in there. There are no clips per se. They're just screwed in. Very simple. And now we're going to put back our heatsink on. Put our heatsink back on, I should say. And then we're going to take our time screwing it back on. This time clockwise. So just go a little bit here and then go crossways. A little bit there. You need to do a cross pattern. And then we're going to go this one here. What is that, about 3 turns? And then 3 turns here. And then got another 3 turns here. I mean, you can do as many turns as you feel comfortable with, just to make sure that you do it evenly. So that way you have even distribution of the force on top of the heatsink. And now I should be feeling that it's getting tighter. And sure is. Just take your time. There's no rush. With this huge upgrade that you're getting, it's going to be great. Cross pattern. So that one's already a little bit tight. This one. This one. This one. And see, this one's tight. This one's tight. This one tight. And this one is tight. Now I'm just going to connect my fan back in there. I could have done that earlier, but that's okay, no big deal here. So I'm just going to connect the cable in there. That's that. And then last thing left to do is put our cover back on. Actually, let's do this before I forget. Makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to put my power cable back on. I'm going to connect my P3 like so. I'm trying to get a good angle for you guys. I'm just going to push it in. Clips. I'm going to take this underneath, put it back on there, and then you just gently push it down here. There it is, and it's clipped. You just kind of make sure that these things are clipped in. And at this time I'm just going to, well, this can come down, doesn't matter. But I'm going to route my cable like so. There you have it, guys. If you have any questions, I'm here for you, so don't forget to ask me. I'll gladly help you with anything that you have, whether it's this or that. I have full video on how to do all of this. Whether you need to upgrade to a video card, more RAM, or anything like that, there will be links within this video, so check them out. And also for the proper CPU, there will be links in the description box. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
My name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. This is an exciting video for me because I'm building a brand new computer for video editing and gaming. Some of the requirements that I have are i9 with lots of RAM and good GPU. For this, we're using a Gigabyte motherboard, which is Z390 Aorus Pro socket 1151, which will go really well with our i9 9900K CPU. For RAM, we're using Ripjaw DDR4, 16 gigabytes in total. For storage, we're using solid state 500 gigabyte by Samsung and 9700 EVO for the operating system, which is M.2 type. Of course, we can add more storage later. For cooling, I've decided to go with Corsair H60 water cooling. And for graphics card, we're using MSI GeForce RTX 2060. And to power everything is EVGA 500 watt power supply. Links to all parts in the description box below. First thing we're going to do here is remove the plastic cover that covers our CPU socket. Afterwards, we're going to use our zero force insertion lever to remove the actual plate that pushes down onto the CPU. Then we're going to open our CPU carefully, make sure we don't touch any contacts below the CPU and also any contacts that are in the socket itself, because we don't want to bend any of those pins. One way to make sure that we insert the CPU properly is to align the notches that are there, as you can see. Then we're going to lower it in there carefully and gonna use our zero force insertion lever to close it back up. So just take your time with this. Very important because this is very expensive. That CPU at this time I'm recording this was $530 plus tax. So we want to be careful about that. Then we're going to install our VNAND SSD M.2 solid state drive. This motherboard comes with two options to install this. The first one is too long, the second one is just the right length, so we're going to use it in that one. Of course, you can use it in the other one as well. What you see on top, the black part, is actually a heatsink, which I was very surprised to find in this motherboard. Once we remove the heatsink, we're going to insert our M.2 solid state drive on an angle like that first, and then we're going to lower it down carefully, making sure that all the contacts are present. Then we're going to use our heatsink. We're going to remove the little sticky part that covers it. It's going to stick on there. We're going to then use the screw that came with the motherboard to reattach the M.2 solid state drive, which is crazy fast, by the way. This is the back of it. This motherboard comes with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, also optical out for audio, which is really cool. And then you have standard connectors for audio. We got network, we got USB 3.0, USB Type-C for fast charging, and USB 3.1. Now we're going to install our RAM. And just take your time with anything you do every time you build a computer like so. Kind of push it down evenly on both sides, and that should do it for that. For this, we're using a really cool case, which is NZXT H500i, and it comes with all kinds of cool stuff. The standoffs for the motherboard were already inside the case, so I didn't have to actually install those. Now it's time just to put the motherboard inside and then use the screws that came with the case to attach it. Pro tip, push on the motherboard a little bit so you can align the holes properly for the first couple of screws. And then afterwards, we're just going to reattach or attach all the screws that are provided to us. And then don't go too crazy with anything that you do. Just kind of make sure it's tight enough, because it's not going to go anywhere with so many screws. Next, we're going to use install our adapter plate on the back of the motherboard for our water cooling block, which has a self-adhesive sticky, which is really cool, makes it a lot easier. Then we're going to use our spacers for the water block that we're going to attach. There are 4 of them. You can do this by hand. You don't need to use any tools, which is really cool. So we're going to attach that, and then afterwards we're going to mount our radiator as part of the water cooling. In my case, this case allowed me to remove the plate that holds the water cooler or any other fans that you want to attach. So that's really cool. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to attach the radiator, as you can see there, and I'm going to bring it back and show you how that looks like here in a second. And that's how it is. Then I'm going to reattach it, and I'm going to run the cables to the back or the other side of the motherboard, because that's where the cables are being routed after I attach this. Now we can get to the point where we attach our block. It has a plastic cover. It has thermal paste attached already on there, or applied, so we don't have to worry about that. We're going to use the nuts that came with it, and then we're going to attach our water block, and which we will use a cross pattern screw on for these screws, or I should say nuts. So make sure you take your time. Don't tighten too much. Just go by hand and go cross sections so it's evenly distributed when it comes to thermal paste and everything else. Once you do that, you should be good to go. Now we're going to install our graphics card. For that, I'm removing the back plates that are there. We're going to use our PCI Express that's closer to the CPU. We're just going to make sure it's unlocked by pressing that little notch there. Once we align the GPU, it's just a matter of aligning the slot, which you really can't make a mistake on because there's only one way to do this. Once we align it properly, we're just going to push down on the GPU and make sure it sits down firmly and is secured. Once we do that, we're going to attach the screws that are provided as well with the case. There are 2 screws in total. I'm just going to show one. Looks like it there. Sorry about that. Anyways, that's the power connector for the water cooling, which we will attach. Afterwards, we can see where the cables are routed. And to attach the solid state, you have 2 parts of it. There's this little kind of adapter that's there. It's very cool to use. You just kind of press on it and it detaches. Then we're going to attach our solid state drive onto it with screws that came with that as well. Then I'm just going to clip it back on, and then afterwards I'm just going to connect all the cables, which I didn't want to put on the video because it's self-explanatory. You just plug it in. It's very simple. From here, I decided while I was here to attach the power supply unit, and for this is just 4 screws, and you can see how all the cables on the left hand side would be connected on the back of the case itself, which makes it very clean install afterwards. Unfortunately, I don't have a modular power supply here, but that's okay. So after we're done, I've routed the cables through the backside to the front, from the backside to the front, and attach them accordingly. Make sure you attach all your SATA connectors as well. Of course, the front panel, audio, and any fans that you have as well are connected. This is the finished product. Let's see if it turns on. Yay, it works. Awesome. And of course it comes with this motherboard has a full RGB that can be changed. These colors can be changed, and it looks like Corsair lights up as well, the water cooling part of it. And when it comes to this build, it was pretty straightforward. The case made it a lot easier, and you get some hawk action for the LED for the motherboard itself. Again, you can change these colors anything you want. It's really cool if you're into that type of stuff. And that kind of finishes up our build for the i9 desktop that I need for video editing mainly, to be honest. And all the parts were very easy to install. You just kind of have to follow instructions and take your time. So I encourage anybody to do it. There's a link to all of these parts in the description box below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I will go ahead and do actually some more benchmarking of this. And if you need those benchmarks, please let me know and I'll post it on my other channel if you're into gaming or stuff like that that's related to the computers. Alright guys, I hope you like this video. Please share it with friends or family. And the last thing to do here is actually remove the little sticky vinyl protective thing of the glass panel or the glass door that's on this computer. There it is. Alright. Alright, thanks again guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I wanted to show you how to replace one of these LCD screens. So if you have a broken one, you can simply do it yourself. There's really no need to get a professional unless you're really worried that you're going to mess something up. So as long as you take your time, you should be able to replace any LCD screen on your own, as long as you follow some of the simple instructions that I'm about to give you, right? Of course, always be careful so you don't do more damage, and make sure you have the proper tools. For this, we're going to use one of the Phillips head screwdrivers. So basically what happens is we have 4 screws, one here, one there, and one there. And after we remove them, we're going to basically remove this bezel off, right? We're going to pop this open, and you see how it's already coming off? Because it's very simple, right? So let's get to it. Some of these may have little covers like this. They are basically little rubber separators, tabs, or whatever you want to call them. They're just covering these screws that are basically holding us back from exposing them and removing them, right? So let's go ahead and get to it. We're going to start to remove this. And again, make sure you have the proper LCD panel that you need to use for your specific laptop. It's going to be slightly different on some of the other laptops, but it's no big deal. It should be very similar to this one, right? The main thing we have to concentrate here and to worry about is a ribbon cable that's going to be behind this panel, which I will show you here shortly. And that's the main thing we have to kind of concentrate and worry about, right? Otherwise, we're just going to take these screws off, and it shouldn't take too long, you know. Reach to the point where we start popping off this bezel. See, it's already coming off, so it will happen here shortly, right? So if you can't see these screws again, they're going to be most likely covered with some of these rubber tabs, and it might be slightly different for some other ones, but again, it's going to be very similar with any type of LCD screen. So now that I have this off, I'm going to start popping this off. You see it's already falling apart. By the way, this is not a laptop that I used myself. I just got one of these for free, and you can see it's a bit filthy, and it will be filthy underneath most likely. So, but it's okay. Even if we break something on here, of course, be very careful when you pop these off, because there's a really good chance that you may break something off. So this is off. We can just throw this aside. Now we're done. Here, usually you would have 4 more screws. In our case, it's only 2 more screws. Remember, we took one of these off that was already kind of going through this panel part. So we only got 2 right now to kind of separate this screen from the back of this laptop cover, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. Same deal, we're just going to unscrew them. I hope you can see this well. I got the first screw off. I'm going to take this one out, and that shouldn't take long. It's just a little plain screw just holding on to this back panel, back cover, plastic part of it. No big deal. And now we have left is our screen that is kind of detached from this back panel, right? From this back panel. From here on, we have to remove our ribbon cable, which is actually attached right here, right? So this is the most important part. As you can see here, this is the back of the lid, and we cannot remove this LCD unless we remove this ribbon cable that is located right here. You can see it's inserted. You just have to be careful, you know, when you pull it in and out. And after that, we're going to remove the entire LCD panel, right? But first thing we got to do is this. We got to make sure we don't rip this off. So don't go rushing into removing everything else until we get rid of this first, right? Until we unplug this, right? And here in our case, you can see there is a little kind of a piece of there's a piece of tape that's just kind of preventing from this ribbon cable from sliding out. If you take a closer look, you can see that where the cable itself inserts. So we just kind of have to, once we remove this piece of tape that's kind of holding it in, we're just going to slide it out, and that's how you put it back in, right? So let me just go ahead and peel this back a little bit so we can get to this. So once you get this going, make sure that you don't rip this whole thing off, because you still have some electrical components here in case you want to keep this for something else. But basically you just want to get this piece of tape off, so that way you can get to the ribbon cable, so you can free it. Later on you can attach another piece of tape that will hold it in. But you see how it just falls out? Okay, see, you can see what was holding it in, and you can see that there is a little, the connectors are there, and then they just slide in here, right? And we're going to reverse do that, and later on we can just reattach another piece of tape to keep it in, right? For now I'm just going to fold it in like this, and I'm going to show you how to insert this back in. So guys, this is the hardest part, right? We're just going to insert this back in. Make sure you push it all the way in when you align it, right? Make sure when you align it that it's pushed all the way in. It can be a little bit difficult. You have to, you know, try a couple of times. You see how it's inserted all the way in? It actually went all the way in. So now we know it's fully secured. So just because you aligned it doesn't mean that it's actually all the way in there, right? With a new piece of tape, you should be able to just do this, and it should stay in there, right? And there you have it. That's how you reattach your ribbon cable. So holding this screen right now, there are just two screws, one here, right? As simple as that.
Alright guys, in order to put this back together, all you gotta do is just do it in reverse order and it should be all good to go. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, dislike, comment, share with friends. If you like to support me, there's a link in the description from Patreon. Thank you so much. Have a good day and best of luck to you.
So what we have here is a really cool keyboard by Logitech, and it's called G213 Prodigy RGB keyboard. It has 16.8 million color options that you can change on your keyboard lights. So this is really cool. I've never actually owned any of these before, so this is my first time actually owning one and unpacking one. This used to be $69.99. Now it's on sale for 50 bucks. It's an unbelievable deal for this type of keyboard. There's a link in the description if you're interested. And since this is a special occasion for me, I decided to make a video about it, of unpacking and testing. We're going to see the colors in action, guys. So stick around for that. I'm going to unpack this so you guys can see what to expect when it comes to this type of keyboard. So let's go ahead and start opening it up. Looks like it's opened from this side. There's we got a little tape action here. So I'm going to cut that open so we can get to it. Then we're going to open this bad boy up. Guys, I'm super excited about this because I've never had a light up keyboard before. Just to show you real quick what it says on the back of this box. It says it's 2 millisecond response time, which is tuned for ultra quick responsive feedback with every keystroke. It's 4 times faster than standard keyboard and has anti-ghosting gaming matrix, is to keep you in control when you press multiple gaming keys simultaneously. So there's virtually no lag when it comes to the input of this keyboard. Again, we have 16.8 million RGB lighting color options that you can choose from, and it's spill proof. We also have onboard play and pause type of media controls. Alright, let's open it up. I'm going to slide this open like so. I'm going to flip it back over so you guys can see. Here's the magic moment. Alright, it's actually pointing this way, so I'm going to flip it around. So far it looks alright. I ripped this by myself accidentally, so that's no big deal. Now let's pop this open. Looks like the USB cable is here. It looks like it has some kind of protection on it, which is actually really cool. Wrapping around it that makes it extra durable so you don't actually tug on it or pull it or rip it. So that's really cool. I do like this so far. It's packed in this what looks like, I thought it was anti-static, but it's not. It's just a regular bag. We do have some basic instructions that we're going to look at here in a moment, but let's have a look at the keyboard itself first. I'm going to unpack it. Looks like you just pull on these self-adhesive pack in the back, package in the back. And as I am pulling that out, you can see there are standoffs. I'm just going to put this box aside since we don't need it anymore. So it looks like on the back we have some standoffs. So I'm going to pop them like that because I do like to use them. It does have rubber here for anti-slippage here, and this whole thing is rubber as well. So I do like that. One thing I hate is when I try to move my keyboard and it moves. We don't want that. This is why we have all this extra rubber to keep us steady, guys. All right. So once we flip it over, we can see that it has these keys. You can hear the keys. I'm going to shut up for a second. It does have this palm rest or wrist rest, if you will, for the wrist rest action. We have a standard layout when it comes to keyboard. They do feel pretty good. They feel kind of like textual, or what was the word for it that I'm looking for? Tactile. It almost feels tactile. It's sort of like a rubber coating on it. Looks like this will light up. This looks like an LED that would light up. We'll certainly look at that. And here we have some LEDs as well. I'm assuming this is just for regular number lock, scroll lock, and caps lock, and probably something else we will check out in a moment. This looks like a joystick button. We'll see what that does. I'm assuming maybe for some kind of macros that you can set up. Here's a light button that I guess changes the darkness or maybe even the color of these. We'll check that out as well. We got fast forward, backwards, stop and play and pause buttons. We got mute button here, and we got the volume button here as well. This simple instruction, all it says is just to plug it into the USB port, and that's all there is to it. So here's the keyboard connector. You can see right off the bat that it's changing color on its own, just cycling through the colors, which I may actually leave like that. So I'm hoping there is some customization that I'm going to try to see inside the computer once I download some drivers. But you can see it's cycling. The LED is coming on really nicely. All of these are light up quite nicely. You can also see that this last notification is for the game mode. So if I press the game mode, it will cycle it on. Let me see if this turns off the colors on and off. So if you want it turned off, you can certainly do that. So that's pretty cool. This is self-explanatory. This is just volume up and down, and mute button. Doesn't change color or anything like that. At least not for now. I'm going to check to see if there's any setting within the drivers that I can download. I'm going to go to their website and see what is there available. Right now we have number lock turned on, caps lock, scroll lock. The feel of the buttons feels really good. I've never had a keyboard like this, so this is really exciting for me. I really feel like it's light, but at the same time, I feel that there's something there that I can really feel when it comes to the tactile feel of it. I really like that. So this is what it looks like with lights off. Looks like it's pretty bright. You can see, hopefully the camera picks it up really well. All right, let's have a look at the drivers, see what we can change, see if there's any customization available for it.
So according to their website, for G213, we need to download specific hardware for it. And here's a little bit about it. It says it's gaming grade performance, light sync RGB, spill resistant and durable, integrated palm rest and adjustable feet, which is pretty cool, dedicated media control, buttons customized with Logitech gaming software. So I need to download this G Hub in order to control the lights on it. I'm going to go ahead and just simply click download. We're going to see what happens and how easy it is to install this. I have downloaded it already, and I'm going to just execute to install it. So once you install the software and drivers, you can see that a couple of different things come up. The keyboard itself and also my camera that is also Logitech, so that's pretty cool. Looks like you control some aspects when it comes to LED matching and syncing. This could also be done with other Logitech hardware like speakers. So if you buy speakers, you can also sync them with your keyboard, camera, and everything else that you have. There are some lighting effects that you can see here. If you click on the left hand high, so let me show you here. So if you go and click on see the newest lighting effects, you can download some of the profiles that were created for specific games, this and that. However, the main thing I've noticed that you can do right away with this keyboard is if you click on the keyboard itself, you can see that there are some presets. You can see you can change it to fixed color, cycle, color wave, breathing, screen sampler, and you can do also audio visualizer. So this one actually pretty cool. Screen sampler is basically, it appeared to be using your Windows settings to change the color options, which I kind of like. So I'm going to leave it at that for a second. Next thing you can click on is freestyle, which allows you to change the color of different zones. And in total, there are 5 zones that you can change. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll show you what happens when you customize those. So if you go here and select, for example, I don't know, let's change it to some kind of red color here. This is sort of like burgundy as far as I can tell with my eyes. And then I'm just going to click in the zone here, zone 1. You see how it changed right here? Zone 2 and then zone 3. It changed it to that, and it's actually changing that on my keyboard live as we are speaking as well. And then let's say we want these keys to be a little bit different. You know, you can select just some of these presets, or you can, you know, go over here and change it to whatever you want. So let's use some kind of a, let's do some kind of a hardcore contrast and go with this royal blue of sort. And we're going to select that to be that. And we can change these orange ones to something else. So for that, let's just go to and let's do some crazy like this lime green like. And this is exactly what happens when you do that. This is changing real time on your keyboard. So that's pretty cool if you want to customize that. Unfortunately, with this keyboard, it appears to be entry level RGB keyboard for, you know, because it's only $50 at this time. It's on sale. You can't, I didn't find an option to change keys individually, which is kind of unfortunate, but this is what you get for a $50 keyboard. And I'm okay with that, you know. So I think I'm just going to select the preset of screen sampler for now, because I'm kind of old school like that. And this way it just kind of takes on the color of my Windows settings, and that I'm okay with that for now. Later on I might change it to something else, and you can do so as well. If you select the game mode here, you can disable certain keys on the keyboard, for example Windows key, which allows you to basically block them. So let's say you're doing some hardcore gaming or whatnot, and you don't want to accidentally hit the Windows key, because that brings the Windows option, that brings this up. This is what happens, and that kind of takes away from the game itself, and now you're no longer controlling the game, you control Windows. So if you want to disable that, you can certainly do so. So that's pretty cool. Assignments. Okay, here we go. Here's already assignments. If you click the plus button here, you can see that there are different commands, shortcuts that it tells you. These are, by the way, for example, you know, left Windows key plus M minimizes all windows. This is something that's already within the Windows themselves. They just kind of tell you what these shortcuts are that you may not be aware of. So if you want to be more proficient using Windows, you can certainly look at all of these, and that's pretty useful. You know, basic stuff like, for example, Control C copy, Control A select all. So that's pretty cool, and you can change those to something else if you really wanted to. So it does give you these customization options that are there. You can change the keys themselves as well, and there are some options if you want to do that, so that's going to be up to you. You can change it to do some certain actions. So if you, for example, set the keys to do, I don't know, F2, F1, or what, F3 or F4, you can change them to launch, some of the applications that you want to set up there. So you can launch application with the shortcuts instead of you having to go through the menus. Next thing we have is macros. So you can create a macro. If we select create a new macro, we're just gonna call it new test. You know, you can call it whatever you want, and here you can set up different macros. So basically what happens is key combinations that you'll want to execute with, you know, in a sequence, or toggle, repeat while holding, or no repeat. So this is something that is really cool if you want to use it in games or anything else, or some kind of work that you do and you just want to hit the macro and it's just going to execute all the sequences. So it's sort of like programming at kind of a lower level, you know what I mean? Not actually using a programming software, but using the key commands on your keyboard that will execute that. So let's say you're playing a game and you want to do something real quick and you just hit a button. you know, or just hold the button and it repeats doing that. All that stuff, you guys know what I'm talking about. So next thing we have is a system. Here you can also launch application using system as well, and you can certainly customize all of this as well. Drag a system control onto a target to assign to this volume. So you can see there are some actions that you can assign target to. So for example, you want a volume up, stop, you know, anything that you want to do, you can create here and assign it to all of these keys. You know, same as when we looked at the keys up here. You can certainly do the same thing when it comes to system here. So it's kind of more of the same thing, but it gives you more customization. All right, guys, if you like this video, please let me know, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll gladly answer them for you. If you like this keyboard, there is a link in the description box as well. If you do purchase it through that link, it does support me directly, so I appreciate you and thank you very much. All right, guys, share this video with your buddies, leave a like, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
So the difference is clear. If you want the best of the best, you're obviously going to know at this point which one to buy. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we're testing two Samsung M.2 NVMe drives, and specifically the first one is 970 EVO. So this is the original 970 EVO, and then recently they came out with 970 EVO Plus. I have both of those installed in my computer, which is i9 9900 system that can hold two M.2 drives at the same time. So they're both installed into the motherboard, and that there is literally no advantage of either one when it comes to the hardware that's being used to test its performance. Now you can see that I'm getting ready to do some things when it comes to testing. We're going to of course use the crystal disk, which is kind of a standard. We're going to see the read and write on both of those, but starting we're going to do Windows test when it comes to read and write to see what kind of results we can get in that. And you notice probably here that I'm copying something over. What I'm going to do is also test the game load time. So we're going to compare those side to side. And one of the other things we're going to do is test the compression. What I'm going to do is test the compression of two of these videos and then see which one comes out ahead. So this is a pretty exciting video if you like this type of stuff. And moving on, I want to show you that I do have the most recent update or a driver for our NVMe Samsung drive that comes from Samsung it's themselves. And here is the recent update. I'm just going to run it to show you that it's going to tell me that the driver is already up to date, and it's not going to let me update it any further. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. As you can see, I executed the install of the drive, and there it is. And if I click, you can see here that it's already installed. So the only thing that it gives me is option to uninstall it, but I don't want to do that. All right, so let's have a look at our device manager. I wanted to show you what's inside of my computer. Keep in mind they're both installed on the same motherboard. My motherboard has two M.2 slot, and they're both installed right next to each other pretty much. Here's the 970 EVO, which is the standard one, which is 250 gigabytes. And here's the one that I've just installed, which is NVMe Samsung SSD 970 Plus. But for some reason it shows up as a SCSI disk device. But again, as I've mentioned, I do have the most recent Samsung driver installed for both of these, and it's kind of bizarre that it shows up like so, but I digress. We're going to do some testing. We're going to see what's going on with the settings in here. Anyways, let's have a look at my computer. I just want to show you what it is. So my local C is 970 EVO standard, and here is 970 EVO Plus. Friends, I'm not going to play any ads at this point, so please take a second to click the like button. I really appreciate it. This way I don't have to bother you with ads. Thank you so much. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is use Windows itself to do some testing, and we're going to do a side-by-side. What we're going to do is going to have a couple of labels here created for our testings. We're going to have standard on the left side, and then we're going to have EVO Plus on the right side. We're going to do side-by-side testing with Windows beginning, and then we're going to go through the other ones Okay, and these are the commands we're going to run. I'm going to open up CMD. I'm going to open up CMD. I'm going to run it as administrator. I'm going to have two of them open. I'm going to have them side-by-side action. All right, so here we are. Here's our setup for Windows testing. We're going to test the read speed first, and for that the command is as so. We're going to run it, and we're running a 970 Evo standard on the left side. And now we're going to test the same thing on the other one. I'm just going to switch it over to E, which is 970 Evo Plus. So here are results. The read speed for this one here for the 970 Evo standard is basically 2 gigabytes per second, which is 2006 megabytes per second to be precise, and it finished in 1.78 seconds, so under 2 seconds when it comes to that. And on the right hand side we have Evo Plus that runs at 3081 megabytes per second, so it's almost 3 gigabytes per second, and it finished at 1.7 seconds. So it kind of finished pretty close to the same speed, but when it comes to the speed, eventually the Evo Plus should be faster. So in the long run, if it was a longer test, it would definitely be way ahead of standard Evo. So let's go ahead and test the write speed, and we're going to use a similar command. So for that, I'm just going to change the read to write. I'm going to hit enter. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to type in write. So here we are. Standard Evo 1766 megabytes per second, finished in second and a half, 1.47 seconds. And the Evo Plus is writing at 3154 megabytes per second, and it finished in less than a second, 0.95 seconds. All right, those are cool results. Let's move on to some other synthetic benchmark, and that would be the Crystal Disk. So the difference is clear. If you want the best of the best, you're obviously gonna know at this point which one to buy. So the testing I've done was off camera, so to speak. I made sure I turned off the recording software and any other background software running to make sure that the testing is as accurate as possible. On the left hand side, you can see results of 970 Evo standard, and you can see that it does have impressive read and write speeds. However, if you look on the right hand side here for 9 Evo Plus, the difference is quite massive, especially notable in the write speed. The write speed is more than 3 times faster compared to standard. So yes, you definitely, if you want the best one, you definitely want the 970 Evo Plus. Considering that it's only $20 to $30 more, I mean, it's going to vary from country to country. Yes, definitely go for the 970 Evo Plus in this synthetic benchmark. So this is a synthetic benchmark. We're going to do some video game load times right now to see which one is faster, and then followed, we're going to do a compression test and see which one is faster. All right, guys, let's get to it. And for this, we're going to use, let's see here. I have it here ready. We're going to use Borderlands 3 load time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let it get to the menu itself, because you know that when you launch a game, it takes a while because they want to show you the splash screens and this that. What I'm going to do is actually do the load times in whenever I click continue. So it's going to toss me into the world. It's going to load at that point, not loading off like I opened up the application, because that's going to be the same no matter what.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's the speed comparison when it comes to loading. As you can tell, I'm actually recording this outside of the PC to make sure there's nothing else running in the background that would basically influence the load times. So everything's recorded outside of the computer so you can see the actual real loading time without any recording software running or anything else.
And as a final test, we're going to test the compression. how fast you can compress two files. And it's very simple. It's going to be two large video files, and I'm going to compress them, and I'm going to compress them using WinRAR software. I'm going to execute it just like so, and now we're going to see side by side which one is faster. And I'm going to execute them separately. I will show them side by side so you guys can see which one actually finishes fast, but I won't be able to know this as I am talking because I have to wait for the first one to finish before I can execute the second one. But what you're looking at is actually side by side. So whichever finishes first, whichever window disappears first, that's going to be the winner. So once it finishes, I will put, a little label on here that says which one is the winner. So far, looks like the Evo Standard is doing pretty well. I won't know how well the Evo Plus is doing. I wonder how close it is. I actually don't know. It's kind of interesting because I really don't know. But I do see that Evo Standard still has around 2 minutes left to finish. But it's going to be very interesting nonetheless. And I'm going to be interested to see the results. And I know you guys can see it right now, and I can't. It's kind of weird. It's kind of, would you consider that meta? I'm really kind of curious about that. Because you're the ones who can actually see this, but I, as I am talking right now, I can't actually see the one on the right. You guys are the only ones who can see the one on the right. As far as I know, it might be even done by now. I wouldn't know. But it's going to be very interesting. So far, I mean, this one is doing okay. I mean, I can't tell whether it's fast or not, comparatively speaking. You know what I mean? Because I don't usually do video or a compression of files into a WinRAR format at all. I usually, if I do get something, it's already compressed, so I would do uncompressing. But I am curious to see how well did Evo Plus finish already? I wonder. I don't know. This one is almost done. It's got 45 seconds left. I guess about 40 seconds at this point. Compression ratio 98%. And by the way, these are default settings. So, all right, we'll see how well this one does. 30 seconds left, and I am curious. Technically, the other one should be done by now. Long done. I might be wrong. Feel free to leave a comment and make fun of me on this because I have no idea. I really don't. All right, this one is done. Just about done. 3 seconds. So this one is done almost at 2 minutes and 56 seconds. All right, whatever the results are, I'll put it on the screen right now. All right, so looks like the Evo Plus finished at 2 minutes and 26 seconds from what I've seen. That's quite impressive. It's quite a bit faster than the original 970 Evo. Wow, that's pretty amazing. On some other tests that I've done actually without using recording software, because that takes up some of the processing power, I've actually seen it as fast as 1 minute and 36 seconds for the same files that I've tested individually without the recording software. So the speeds are incredibly impressive for the 970 Evo Plus. It's a huge upgrade for only about $30 to $40, I suppose, more when it comes to buying this type of performance for the money. You just can't beat it. Huge upgrade. I'm surprised it's not called something else and not just 970 Evo Plus, because this drive seems to be a whole lot different and when it comes to speed compared to the original 970 Evo. Guys, if you're interested in buying one of these, there's a link in the description box below. Also, there will be a link in the first comment that you see below the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please take a moment to share this video with your friends, see what they think, and if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching again, and you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Testing the single file performance of the M.2 copy paste. And here we go. Oh my God, that is so fast. I didn't even catch how, was it like 2 seconds or something? That was so fast. All right. Hopefully the other ones do just as well. We'll see though. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we are doing a real-world speed comparison between M.2 solid-state drive versus SATA SSD versus hard drive magnetic. So let me just show you. Here is the CPU Z of my system. I have Intel Core i9-9900K. Here's the RAM. I have DDR4 that is set to 3200 megahertz speed. Samsung SSD 840 EVO. This is an old one. I'm not using that one right now for comparison because it's just old and it's not a fair comparison. And the regular solid state drive that I'm using here is 860 EVO by Samsung, which is 500 gigabytes. And then we have Samsung SSD 970 EVO 250 gigabytes, which is the M.2 NVMe drive. And then we got Western Digital, which is just a standard hard drive with 7200 RPM speed. This one is also 500 gigabytes. So let me show you what I'm doing here. On the right hand side, I have Task Manager that is monitoring the performance, the CPU usage. And the reason for the CPU high usage CPUs right now is because I'm recording the video as well. But I will also monitor how much RAM we're using and how much actual read and write speeds we have here as we are recording the video and as we are benchmarking everything. So here's my setup. I have a copy of Steam folder in each one of these drives. You can tell that this is my operating system as well, which is M.2. So there's a bit of a handicap there, just a little bit, because I'm using it as the operating system. The system itself is using it to process different services that are running in the background at the same time. But it's a copy of a Steam folder, which you can see is 19.5 gigabytes in size. And the reason this, I think, is a fair comparison is because it's a combination of small files and large files, which should prove as a real-world comparison. So here's the thing. If you just copy a large file, for example, a video, really large video, chances are that solid state, the M.2, will have a huge advantage of that because the maximum speed that it can reach comparison to regular ones. And the same thing for the 860 EVO, which is a typical solid state drive you would do, and you can see it's 19.5. And then we also have the same thing on the magnetic drive. It's not showing the full size. Okay, here we go. I'll show you the full size. And it's 19.5 here as well. And just to prove to you that this is a magnetic one, it says that it's D. If I go to properties of it, it's 465 gigabytes, which is the magnetic one. And here is the 500 gigabyte solid state one. And this one is just a folder on the desktop, which is, again, the operating system. All right, so let's make a copy to itself, which will test the read and write speed of each drive. Starting first, and I will have a timer here to show up, and I'll try to time it. That might be off by a second, but I'm going to execute a timer as well. Here we go. I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to paste it in there. There you go. I'm going to start my timer here so you can roughly see. Timer is off probably by half a second. And I'm going to click on the C drive, which is what I'm using right now, to record this. You can see the read and write speeds below. And you can see it goes up quite high because it is M.2. And we'll see the time-wise. We have roughly 30 seconds that went by to record this. It says estimated remaining time is 45 seconds. Well, now it says 60 seconds. But we will see. This fluctuates because it slows down when it comes to smaller files, actually, because it doesn't get a chance to ramp up in speed, although it is a solid-state drive. It's funny how this actually remains the same, but it's just the way the computers are designed. But when you think about, regular drives, by the way, 1 minute went by. The it makes sense for it to have to wait to ramp up and seek because it's spinning. It's a magnetic and it has disks, and you have to wait for it to ramp up. But it kind of persisted, obviously, through the system itself. We can see that we're using only 34 or roughly, well, it fluctuates, but we're good on CPU power. We've got plenty of that. RAM remains a little bit higher than what we started with, which is normal. This is just cache stuff in the background. You can see that the disk itself is using, most of the time is using 100% of its capacity, but it does have to spend time to seek and kind of look up those files at the same time. So we're almost at 2-minute mark here for the M.2 solid state drive. Again, keep in mind there are background processes also at the same time being used at the same time. So 2 minutes so far. So that would be 124 seconds. 126 seconds if I'm not mistaken. Stop. And I was late there for about 2 seconds. So 2 minutes and let's say 8 seconds. Okay, let's make a note of that. M.2, 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Okie dokie. I'm going to reset that, and now I'm going to go for the standard solid state, which is the 860 EVO by Samsung. Copy pasta. Boom. All right, here we go. So solid state drive 860 EVO is also a really good drive. It is using SATA, which is limited to 600 megabytes per second. I'm sorry, maximum speed for SATA 3.0, and which I believe this computer uses. So far, it's doing really well. It might be pretty close to the M.2. Keep in mind again, M.2 is being used by the operating system as well. So we know that this is H. Let's go ahead and click on H. So far, 40 seconds. This is the real time of read and write. It has a really good speeds here. So if you just want to get regular solid state to improve your speed, this is a really good opportunity too. And the 860 EVO is also a good choice when it comes to this. You can see that the maximum speeds are not reaching as fast as the M.2 when it comes to high peaks. So this might be actually a pretty close fight here. It does help it that there are a lot of small files that it actually has to seek first. So there are no really large files to deal with, which M.2 would just destroy it in. So far, 1.5 minutes. Minute, and we've got it's doing really good. I'm really happy with the speed of this 860 EVO, and so far so good. Minute, wow, it actually might beat the M.2. I'm gonna get ready here to stop it. All right, here we go. Almost 2 minutes went by. There it is. 2 minutes, and wow, it's actually pretty close. Remember, I was 2 seconds late on the other one. SATA, let's just do this. SATA SSD, 2 minutes and 3 seconds. It beat the M.2 when it comes to this type of performance. All right, let's check out the magnetic storage. I'm going to reset this. Copy, paste. There we go. That's the magnetic drive, and this is not even going to be close. We know that the magnetic storage here is D, and you can see it's using 100% of its power for the most part, but it does fluctuate. Again, this is just the way the drives are, and the time of completion is going to be a lot longer. So in that case, I will actually speed past that so you guys can see the final result. In comparison, I will get a large file just so you guys can see the difference. As you can see, guys, this has taken a while, so I'm just going to kind of end this. When it comes to the Western Digital part of it, when it comes to magnetic performance, you can see that it doesn't even stand a chance to anything like this. It's been, let's see, 3 minutes, over 3 minutes here, and it's not even halfway down, so we know it's not going to compare at all. What I'm going to do next is take a really large file that's just a single large file and see how well it performs in comparison to the two solid state drives to see if it's worth it or not. Here's the test of one single large file, which is just the video, which is about 2.5 gigabytes in size. I'm going to do copy pasta. This is the M.2. Just a sec. This is the M.2. Okay, that was really fast, but you saw that the speeds just spiked like really high because it could reach that maximum speed with single file. I didn't even catch how fast that was. I think it was like 2 seconds. Here's the standard SSD. Copy pasta. Okay, it's still really fast, but about half the speed. And you can see that it's noticeable there. So that's one large file. And then again, lastly, we have magnetic, copy pasta, which is not horrible, but you can see that it's slowing down quite a bit and the speeds are nowhere near to the solid state drive action. So there you have it, guys. If you like to copy things that are large single files and you want them copied fast, then M.2 is for you. If you are doing video editing, then M.2 NVMe solid state drives are for you. If you're just a regular person that needs to, upgrade from magnetic drive, then just a regular 860 EVO or similar is for you. Especially when it comes to copying folders that are large in size. And I'm not exactly sure how much of an effect it has on the M.2 being as the operating system and doing this type of performance test. I am just kind of putting this together just to kind of compare as it is, but I'm not sure, to be honest. So when it comes to it, interestingly enough, in this comparison speed, the regular solid state beat it by a few seconds when it comes to copying just a large folder. When it comes to loading times, it depends. If, for example, and I get this a lot, people ask me mostly about video games. Is it going to load my video game faster? Well, it depends. Does your video game have a lot of large files that it needs to load at once? Then yes, then M.2 might be faster. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty close when it comes to just the regular 860 EVO solid state drive. So there you have it. This is a real world speed comparison between all three types of drives. If you like this video, please share it with friends. Let me know what you think. And there are links in the description for each one of these drives. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Hello friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video I wanted to talk about computer hardware that you will find in a business environment. Most of the time it will be small form factors when it comes to desktops, and for the laptops we have some particular brands that are very popular. We have HPs, we have Lenovo's, and we have Dell's. From what I've seen in my personal experience, HP is the most prevalent when it comes to laptops and also desktops. But I do see a lot of Dell's and Lenovo desktops as well, kind of mixed in. And this is just from personal experience. Generally speaking, when it comes to the desktops themselves, they are small form factors because they're about this size, and in comparison to a full ATX desktop, which is about this big. So of course it's easier to handle smaller ones like this. And just real quick, if you can take 1 second to like the video, I really appreciate it. Every time you guys do that, it's just amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Starting from the older ones, for example, in HP, you'll see 8000 or maybe even 6000 series computers, smaller form factors, and then you start to move up into the range of 800 G1s, G2s, G3s, and then you have G4s, which are the most recent ones. But most of the time you will see what you're looking at right now. They're really easy to work on. You just pop them open and you can see different types of things that you can easily replace. They're very intuitive, if you will, to work on. And then you have some Lenovo's, which are these M91s, P I think this one is. And then you can see how it's kind of similar to that. They're always compact in size, and then you have an ability to change things in and out really easily. And for the desktop, when it comes to Dell's, it's kind of the same thing, but what I'm thinking right now is the 9020s, or those really small ones. The Dell ones were actually a lot smaller. I don't know if I can find the image of that, but if I do, I'll show you. But it's kind of the same deal. You have a tiny desktop that you can work on. And over time, I actually bought these online because you can find these refurbished pretty cheap nowadays. And I bought them over time to make videos about them for this type of purpose, and also to show people how they can upgrade them, because they're a really good deal, especially when they're refurbished. You get them like a really good computer for like a couple $100, and then you add a couple things in it and make it a lot faster. When it comes to laptops, you have, I didn't see many Dells, but there were Dells. Honestly, from the one I've seen, they were not that good of a quality. I'm not sure about the newer stuff. The computer or the company I work for, they switched over to a newer, to mostly using HPs for that. But for HPs, I have actually videos on this too. Again, I bought these on my own just so I can show them. They are, for example, 8460p. Those are like the older ones, 8470p. And then later on, you have 840 G1s, G2s, and G3s, depending on what kind of package you want. G3 being like the i7 with touchscreen and all that type of stuff. So why am I telling you about this? Well, just in case you start doing help desk or desktop support, you might want to know some of this stuff, just to kind of have a basic understanding of what to expect in there. Yes, all computers will have same type of troubleshooting steps, but in general, if you happen to be replacing parts, let's say you become a tech support at like on site for some kind of company, you'll have an idea on how to do these things, whether it's from changing to adding more RAM, changing CPU, heatsink, or power supply unit. You have all of those. I have all of those things available on my channel if you want to check out my hardware playlist. Yeah, again, there you go. This is what you will expect in a business type of environment. And the main thing to keep in mind here is that when they're newer, there will be warranty on them. So that way you can just, get a replacement part. It depends on what the situation you're working at. Sometimes you have to call the, support and the vendor support, if you will, and then they will come and replace the part. But a lot of times they will send you the part if you say that you are that technician guy there, on site typically, and then you would just replace it yourself. They would send you the part and you send them the old one back, and it's really interesting actually if you were into hardware type of stuff. Well, there you have it, guys. I just want to make a quick video about this because it's important to educate yourself as much as possible before you apply for these type of jobs. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time, and take care. Bye-bye.
So a couple of main things that people usually go for when it comes to replacing or upgrading on their computer is the hard drive. So we have easy access to the hard drive, and it's really simple to replace. Here's our CD-ROM, and it's actually slightly different than replacing these. Let me show you how this mechanism works. So in order to remove this drive, as you can see, there are little tabs that are holding the hard drive in place, and I'll show you exactly how that looks like once I remove it. It's very simple. Here is actually a lever, so you have to pull on it, as you can see here, and I'll show you a better angle. If this is not in the proper position you like, you can actually lift on this, like so. Once you lift this, you can actually have good access to what you see. So if you push on this, you see how it's actually releasing the hard drive there. That way you can properly slide it out. So let me push this back here a little bit so you guys can see, right? So once I'm pulling on this, and if I just slide forward, right? Now I can slide forward. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to, you see that? So now I can just slide forward towards myself and then a lift up, right? I can release this because it's no longer holding it. And if I lift up, and always be careful whenever you remove anything, whether it's a hard drive or just any type of PC component. So you lift it up like so, and then here it's self-explanatory. You just unplug these and you replace your hard drive, and then you're done with that. And then it's in just reverse order. Always take your time. Make sure that your cables are not rubbing against anything before you place it back in. Okay. And then slide it back that way, right? And now you're done with hard drive. So whether you want to put a solid state in there or just add an extra one, we can also do that here. So let's say you want to keep this. Here's space for our solid state drive. We can put another solid state drive in here, and you have extra connector here. And in order to connect, so this is our power, we're just going to need this extra serial connector, which actually connects there. So with your new hard drive, you'll probably get one of these cables. You just plug it in here, and then once you put your solid state drive in there, you can simply connect it like that, pull everything back down. Additionally, let me just move this cable out of the way. Okay. Additionally, if you want to install a third hard drive, you can certainly do so here, right? Here's another space for regular 3.5 inch drive like this one here, or you can even attach solid state if you really wanted to, right? You just have to get creative, but either way, you do have extra power connector, and then of course you can put a solid state drive. The one thing to keep in mind is that you do only have 3 SATA connectors, so it can be up to 3 drives, but that means if you want 3 hard drives, right? If you want 3 hard drives, you're going to have to disconnect our CD-ROM. So a lot of people don't need to use the CD-ROM, so you can disconnect it and just use that. Use that connector instead of the CD-ROM. So if you want to remove the CD-ROM, you actually press down on this green tab, and it actually lets it loose. And I don't want to press it now because it's going to fall through, and it's not going to fall where I wanted. You're actually supposed to have this all the way down, because once we press this, the green button here, it slides out that way. So if I press it, the drive comes out like so, right? It's very self-explanatory. Then you push it back. Make sure it clips back in, right? Okay, now we're done with that. So now we know how to upgrade our solid state drive. Now, again, a lot of times people don't even know that you can actually do this, because it's actually pretty tough in there, but there's no button or anything. But obviously you can remove this like so. So now let's have a look at our memory. Here you can actually install up to, I believe, 64-bit, because this CPU is i5 6500, and that's new architecture. I believe it sports up to 64 gigabytes. Anyways, these are the memory slots that you can use. You simply put them in like so, right? You have plenty of space. It's dual channel, what it appears to be as well. And since I'm playing around with this cable here, this is our power supply cable. So let's have a look how to replace the power supply in case it goes out, or something like that. So you have actually 3 cables that come from the power supply unit. Actually, I should say 3 bundles, right? But it's 3 plugs, one here, one there, and one here. So you would basically unplug those first. Let me see if you get a good angle of this. Here, this is what I'll do here, right quick. All right, give you a little bit another angle there. There's our other connector. And if you want the easier access to that, you can simply remove this air guide. Once you remove the wire from this part here, right? And that just clips here, really easy, simple to remove. That way you get a little bit more extra room to work on this, right? And in order to do this, you just press on the little tab here. You see how it actually squeezes in right there? You just squeeze it like so, right? So we got one cable disconnected. Here's our second one for the power supply. So we got P1, P2, and P3, right? This is P1, P2, and P3. Same thing. You really can't mess these up, right? So now that you're done, you just have to release this part that's holding these cables. Okay, we're almost done here. And then in order to actually remove the power supply, there are a few screws back here. And let me show you. There are 4 screws, or 3, I'm sorry, 3 screws there. Once you do that, you just press this button here, right here, and then you can just take out the power supply. After that, it's very self-explanatory. Okay? So if for some reason you need to replace the heatsink or you want to replace your CPU, you just need a flathead screwdriver like this. I hope it focuses in for you guys. And then you simply use this and then you unscrew it counterclockwise. And this will pop out. This will pop out and then you can remove the heatsink. I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to have to replace the thermal paste that's underneath, but it's very simple. You just do that and you unplug your fan, which is right there, and then you just pull this hole out, and that's how that works. And if you're interested in this specific PC, there will be a link in the description box below as well. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Share with friends. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'll be glad to help you with any questions that you may have. So do not hesitate to ask me anything. I will certainly help you out. Alright guys, have a good one. Bye-bye. I am very, very, very surprised. This is way faster than advertised, guys, especially the write speed. This write speed is supposed to be 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. This is a Pan Y brand of M.2 solid state drivers. The latest and the greatest. Everybody wants one of these M.2 drives, especially if you have an old computer. You want this. This is fast. This is the best and the greatest. This is XLR 8 gaming and it's 500 gigabytes, and I'll tell you exactly why I have 500 gigabytes. It's because I'm comparing it against another brand that's also 500 gigabytes. There's no reason for that except from the fact that the squeakers demanded that on my previous videos you gotta have the same size drive and compare it with that. Has nothing to do with that. Speed is speed. It doesn't matter how big it is. But I digress. We're going to compare 500 versus 500 of a different brand, which is a Samsung 970 EVO. Alright, that out of the way. This one is NVMe PCIe Gen 3 x 4. What that means, you got to have either M.2 slot that runs over PCI Express, or you got to have a free PCI Express slot on your computer that's at least 4 times. You can use 8 times or 16 times. So yes, if you don't have an M.2 slot on your motherboard, you can still use this with this thing. This is just an adapter. This is a cheap adapter. You can insert it into this, put it on your computer, and there you have it. You have an M.2 drive. I will link it in the description if you're interested. I'm not saying you should necessarily buy the one I'm using, but check them out. There are definitely better ones. This is the one I got. Is cheap, but it works. We're going to use that as well. Alright, this is 3500 megabits per second read speeds. And the write speed is 2000 megabits, not megabytes, megabits write speeds, I'm sorry. Compared to 970 EVO Plus, which is 3500 megabits per second read, and it's supposed to also be, I think, 34 also, or 3500 read as well. Anyways, yes, this one is definitely going to be slower when it comes to writing, but it's also cheaper drive. We're going to test that. So why would you care about write? That's if you're installing something on your computer or copying something over back and forth. You definitely want the write speed. But if you're just worried about load times, your games, your operating system, your Windows updates, all of that, you might want to just look at the read speed mostly. And this is why I'm comparing it to 970 EVO Plus, because it has similar read speeds. We're going to test that, guys. Very, very important. Let's do a quick unboxing. We're going to get it to the benchmarking. Alright, let's open it real quick just to show you. Then we're going to install it, and then we're going to look at the benchmarks. Like I said, that's the most important thing. I will show you real quick how to install it as well into this adapter. Here it is. It's not rocket science. Let me do a little focus action for you guys. Here we go. The main thing to worry about is the orientation of this notch. this is an M key type of solid state drive. If you get the one that has 2 notches, that's the wrong one. That's just SATA. Alright. So all I did was just kind of bend it here because it's kind of weird packaging, but it holds it in there. Alright. Very easy. Here's our adapter. We're just going to put it in there real quick. These adapters usually come with all the right hardware. All you got to do is just make sure it's aligned properly. Like so. Let me give you a little close-up action, guys. You see the notch? There's another notch right there. There's another notch right there. So just make sure that's aligned. Put it on an angle like this. Put it on an angle. You see how it kind of stays there like that? This is how laptop memory is installed as well. So make sure you put it on an angle like this first. Insert it like that. And all we're going to do is just lower it and screw it down. Okay? And here we have the little screw action. And we're just going to screw it on there. Ah, guys, I hate these little tiny screws. I'm trying to film this, and I'm standing behind the camera at the same time. Holy moly, guacamole. Alright, it's not rocket science, guys. There it is. Just a little tight action, and that's it right there. And then if you get one of the adapters that has a heatsink on there, make sure you put the heatsink on there. This one didn't come with a heatsink. That's what I'm saying. You don't necessarily have to buy this one. I'll link it so you can just check it out. Just check it out. Don't buy it necessarily. You can. I don't care. It's cheap. But see if you can get one that has a heatsink that you put over it. You just kind of insert it over here and then you put the heatsink on, because these things can't get hot. You know, I'm just trying to do you a favor and tell you right away. It gets hot. Alright guys, let's benchmark it.
Alright guys, here we are inside of my computer. Let's just see for a reference what kind of processor I have, so make sure that there's no bottleneck going on. Here's my i9-9900K, and let me show you the disk drives. The first one is 970 Evo Plus. It shows up like that when you install Samsung drivers, which is normal, but it does say NVMe, so we know it's that one. And then we got PNY, which is the one we just talked about. This is the one we just installed. It's a CS3030. If you remember looking at the box, it said 3030, so if you want to confirm that, you can certainly do so. And of course I have a couple more drives in here, which is just a regular 860 Evo solid state drive, and then a regular standard 970 Evo IM.2, which is not the one we're testing. We're going to test the first two here. Alright, this is how they look like inside of my computer. This is the Samsung 970 Evo Plus, and here's the one we just installed, PNY. Here it is. Same thing, essentially. Capacity is 465 gigabytes when it comes down to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these folders inside of Evo Plus, and I'm going to put them inside PNY, and I'm going to test it with stuff inside of it. You know how many comments I've seen on my previous videos when I did this type of comparison, when squeakers tell me that I am not doing this right, you can't have anything in there, you can't test the one that has stuff in it because it's slower. Like, really? Do you calculate the speed of a drive when there's nothing in it? Do you want your drive to be fastest and when there's nothing in it? This is why I'm going to test it with stuff in it.
Alright guys, so here we are. We're definitely going to do a crystal disk. We're going to do a benchmark, but I want to show you what I did here as a preparation for a real world example. And the first thing I did was actually make sure I'm recording with the camera outside of the computer. If I use screen recording software, that's actually going to impair the results, meaning it's going to change things, it's going to slow it down, and they're not going to be accurate results. So I want to make sure that that's not happening. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a quick test of copying to itself. Here's the 970 Evo Plus. We're going to do copy paste. So what it's going to do is going to create same folders and files. We're going to do a side by side. All right. So far it peaked up, and you can see that it slows down whenever it's reading smaller files. Let me just do it right here. It's whenever it's reading smaller files, it slows down again, like I talked about before. And whenever it hits a large file like these MP4s, it gets up to that speed, but it copies them so quickly that it doesn't even have time to ramp up to the speeds. That was very impressive. Alright, now let's do the same thing on the PNY. We're going to do a copy paste onto itself again, guys. This is making a copy onto itself. We're going to do a side by side. It peaked up just like the other one, interestingly enough, but it slowed down. It's noticeably slower, but the speeds are still pretty good. I mean, considering that the read and write is supposed to be slower. Well, the read is supposed to be the same, I'm sorry, but the write is supposed to be slow. I liked that the consistency here. It's very similar to 970 Evo, also very fast. These numbers are impressive. Okay, so technically speaking, I think, and we're going to do a side by, again, we looked at the side by side here as well. Look while I'm talking, we're going to do a side by side, and I think 970 Evo noticeably won, but this PNY is actually $20 less, so it's $20 less. Now, if you're going to get a 1 terabyte or larger, let's say you get 1 terabyte, we're talking $40 less. So if you're buying a larger, if you want a larger hard drive storage, then you might want to consider PNY if you want to save money. $40 is quite a bit of money for most people. But if you don't care about that, and you're buying a 500 gigabyte, then you might as well get the Samsung 970 Evo, especially for the operating system. Now I want to talk about operating system real quick. If you don't have a built-in M.2 slot, chances are your computer is not going to support it. I will show you on this screen what's required. You got to have NVMe support, and you got to be able to have these specific settings. Generally speaking, you cannot boot unless your computer BIOS supported and you already have an M.2 built in. Otherwise, if you're putting it as an adapter, it's most likely just going to be as storage, okay? Which is also great for, like, if you're loading games on it, if you're doing some productivity work, like video editing, some kind of file transfer storage, it's great for that, you know? Operating system, the main benefit for having an M.2 as an operating system is to boot up, and how often do you actually boot up the computer, and for the updates. But you get similar results with just a regular SSD, and I've actually talked about this in my other videos. There's a comparison video that I've done as well if you want to check that out. Alright guys, let's now do the crystal disk. We're going to do, let's see, which is our Evo? E, local disk E. We're going to leave everything at default. I just did a fresh install of Crystal Disk. We're going to leave everything at default. I'm going to run it, and I'm going to come back with the results for the 907 Evo Plus, I should say. Not just the regular 9. This is 907 Evo Plus. Because I know it takes a while, I'm just going to come back with the results and so you guys can see them. Alright guys, so the results are coming in. This is for 970 Evo Plus. You can see the numbers right now, and that are 3.5 gigabits per second read, or 3,578 megabits per second, and then we got the write speed of 3,279, which if I did a test again, it would probably on average be 3,300, which is pretty respectful. Respectful? Sure, why not? Why the hell not? Might as well be respectful. I respect these speeds, guys. This is pretty good. It's pretty close to what the advertisement is. These things will fluctuate up and down. I mean, this is just the nature of things. But generally speaking, we got 3.5 gigabits per second, if you will. And then we got 3.3 rounded of gigabits per second for the write speeds. So these are the numbers for 970 Evo Plus. Alright, so the other one is letter D for the drive. Here it is. We're going to do the same testing here. We're going to come back to you once we're close to finish. Alright guys, so the numbers are coming in for the PNY drive. I am very, very, very surprised. This is way faster than advertised, guys, especially the write speed. This write speed is supposed to be 2,000. Look at this. It's 2,434 per second for the writing. Wow, talking about being better than advertised. We got the read speeds of 3.2. It's supposed
Welcome my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I will show you how to install Proto One GPU external adapter. This is specifically designed for small form factor computers that cannot fit a full-size video card. So this is excellent video for you if you want to upgrade like me.
It's very simple. It's done by using an adapter that was created by me, and if you happen to purchase one of those, it will come just like this, and you will get a full kit that comes with all the hardware that you need. This happens to be an HP 800G2 type of computer. With the lid removed, we're going to pop this open. This basically releases these back plates so we can insert typically a card, but in our case you can see that there's no way this will fit in here, nor will it fit in the height, and that's where the adapter comes in. From here we're just going to remove two of the little metal plates that are covering these slots. From here we're going to take an adapter that came with the kit and we're going to position it like so underneath. Make sure it's flush. One way to tell is that this clip doesn't fall down. From here we're going to attach our adapter. It's very straightforward. We're just going to align our holes, and we're going to use our screws that are included with the kit and insert them as so. Then we're going to take our screwdriver. We're going to screw it in by holding both the adapter plate and the GPU adapter. Don't go all the way on the first one until we align the second hole with the adapter. So we're going to do this on the other one. By the way, this is very strong. This is a 3D printed, but is very strong plastic, and it's very durable. On this one, it's very easy to screw in. So we're going to screw it in just like so. This one we're going to go all the way through. It's very tight. We're going to do the same on this other one. You no longer have to hold it. And if you hear a little cracking of the plastic, that's perfectly normal. For this specific PC, and again, this is an HP 800G2 small form factor PC, we're going to actually do something special. We're going to use one of these plates that we removed from here, and then we're going to use it to attach our supporting adapter, which goes right here. Is very convenient, and I'll show you exactly how that turns out. So I'm going to take one of these screws that already came with the case. This is already attached. I'm going to loosen it up a little bit, and I'm going to take the opportunity to add the adapter like so. I'm going to attach it. I hope you can see. I'm going to screw it in. I'm just going to move it this way. With this attached, we're going to attach our supporting adapter, and you can see there is a little slit there that is also from underneath. We're just going to slide it on there like so, and this is not going anywhere. This is very firm. Again, this is just to support the whole contraption, and this is a good opportunity to insert our ribbon cable for the PCI Express slot. This is not included with the kit. However, I will provide a link in the description box below for both the adapter and the ribbon cable. With this installed, now we're going to flip over our case like so. And before I attach our GPU like so, I'm going to attach the cable first because it's much simpler, and then I'm going to lock it in. Okay, going to lock it. And now I'm going to attach the GPU. There are holes underneath here where these metal parts go in perfectly. With the GPU attached like that, you can see that this back plate adapter helps us, although it can stand without this part as well. Now this is going to vary on the type of computer you have. Some of these may sit lower or higher. Sometimes you can flip, and yes, you can, once you attach these little screws that come with the adapter, once we attach these, you can flip the case over and it'll still hold it just fine. Don't go too crazy on this, because this is made out of plastic. However, this will tighten pretty strong. So it is strong, you can tighten it pretty well. It's just that don't go too crazy because it's not metal. If you feel more comfortable, you can use some of the extra screws that came with your case, and you can use those for better support. That's fine too. These are all standard holes for any case computers. So after this, we can attach any power supply like so, and that's the huge advantage of having an adapter like this. Yes, you have to keep the case open, and that's basically a sacrifice we have to make, but you can use any external power supply that you simply connect like this. See, this is PCIe adapter or a cable. We're just going to plug it into here, and it takes one more. This one is 6-pin, so we're going to plug that in. So the huge advantage here is that we don't have to use the power of the onboard power supply that's required for our CPU. This one is only 200 watts. The video cards of this size are usually 300 requirement, and some of these are even actually lower wattage, although some are 240, but it's still not enough for the full size card like this. With the external power supply, we don't have to worry about that. We just have to put it in, and one last thing you may have to do is jump the power supply to make sure it turns on. So the way you do that is you jump the pin on the 24 pin, so it's basically from green to black. Any green to black here will turn on the power supply externally. If you don't want to deal with that, I will provide a link to an adapter that simply plugs in here, and it comes with these PCI Express connectors. So you just plug it in. There's an adapter link in the description that just plugs into here. That's why I say you can use any power supply afterwards, and then you simply plug it in here and it's going to turn it on for you. Another great thing is the external power supply doesn't have to be 300 watts. So let's say this card requires 300 watts. The external power supply doesn't actually have to be 300 watts. The reason for that is the recommended 300 for this card is for the entire system. The card itself may not draw more than 100 watts. So if you have an old power supply laying around that's only, let's say, 150, 200, you can use that. There you go, guys. Just be careful whenever you use this adapter. Make sure that you don't spill any water in here. Make sure you don't put your finger in there while the thing is operational, because I don't want you to get shot, burnt, or injured. So just be careful and install this. Use responsibly. Thank you so much. Please share it with friends. Tell your friends about it because they will surely benefit from this too. Thank you so much. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm here for you. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I will show you how to upgrade RAM or random access memory on HP G1, G2 small form factor desktop PC. Once we do this, this will be a huge upgrade to our machine, especially when it comes to gaming or video editing. I hope you guys like this video. There will be a link in the description box below for the proper parts that you need.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In this video I'm going to show you how to install or upgrade RAM on HP 800 G1 or G2 small form factor computer. So once you have the lid open, which by the way it was super easy, you just pull the lever on here. Once you do that, just put it aside. With the computer case open like this, you can actually pull on this whole assembly front here, right? There's no button to press, but so feel free to just kind of pull it back to give you a lot more space to work with. Now we have access to our RAM. Now that we have access to our RAM, we can see that these are dual channel type of RAMs that you can put in here. Just make sure you're doing that you're using the correct type. And let me go ahead and pull this one open. So this one comes with only 4 gigs at the moment, but it can go up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm just going to pull this one out. In order to pull these out, and let me kind of demonstrate on the ones you can see, you just push on these little tabs on both sides, right? So this is what I'm going to do on this one. These are just little clips, I should say. Can just do that, and once you pull it out, you can see which type of RAM it is, right? So make sure you buy the correct upgrade for your computer, right? So this is an example of what you're looking for. And in order to reinstall this, we just have to make sure that these notches align. As you can see, they're clearly positioned there. You just have to make sure that it's aligned properly like so. And I'm going to install it in this white one because it's a little bit better to see. So the way you do it, you just kind of let it drop, make sure it's aligned properly. And then you push down on each end of the stick, right? This is the easiest way that I found to install RAM. So if you just simply push down evenly at the same time on both sides, it will pop in just like so, right? You just have to make sure you have good balance, and it's going to push these, you know, clips in for you by itself, and then you're done with that. Of course, I'm going to put it back into this other one. Do the same thing. So this is where it originally was. If you press down, just kind of make sure you go all the way to the edge on both hands and press down at the same time. And it goes in perfectly just like so. Guys, if you're interested in upgrading this computer even further, for example, a video card, there's a video in the link description box below. And also at the end of this video, there will be a thumbnail that you can look at. Also, if you want to look at how to install a new hard drive for this. I will also put a link to the proper RAM that you need in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we are upgrading my computer with the GeForce RTX 2060. This card just came out and it's the best card you can buy for the money because it sits around $350. And I know that's a lot of money, but when you compare it to the other new cards that came out from NVIDIA that sell for $600, $800, over $1,000, and this one sells for $350, and it should give you the performance of around GTX 1080, which is the previous high-end model of the same brand. Then when you consider that, this is the best performance for the money card right now, and this came out just recently at the time that you're watching this video. So I'm going to put this inside my computer. I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to remove this one and I'm going to install this brand new one. So let me open this up real quick and show you. This is MSI Ventus graphics card. Then again, $350. There's a link in the description if you're interested. By the way, if you do use the link to purchase this card, I do get commission on that, and I appreciate you guys if you do use it, so thank you very much. So just to show you real quick, this comes with 6 GB of GDDR6 VRAM. It's 192-bit type of memory, and it has 3 display ports and 1 HDMI port. This card does also support ray tracing, but this is not why I bought this card. I bought it so I can actually use it for the performance and because it's affordable, comparatively speaking. Of course, I'd rather buy this than spend $1,000 on any of those other cards. So just to kind of tell you what you can expect in this video, I'm going to show you how to install it. That's great, but do make sure you stick around because I want to show you a test to see if this card can actually run in 4K. And that's one of my main things I actually want to show you through entirely this video. Not just to show you how to install this, but also show you the performance in 4K. I know this card will do well in 1440p. I've seen the test results. I've seen the benchmarks. I'm sure you guys have. If you specifically looked for this type of card, and that's great. But I do want to see if I can make it work at 4K. There are some games who are a little bit easier to run on 4K. However, I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to be delusional and say that I know that this is going to run in 4K or anything like that. However, I will do some tweaks to see if I can at least get 60 frames per second on some of the popular games that I play. And of course, I will have to tweak those settings. And I will show you what that is, so make sure to stick around to watch that. Okay, so I don't know what this is. This came with an envelope. Just going to do this real quick, guys, because I don't want to waste too much time. These are just the instructions. I am an IT professional, so I don't need to read the instructions. I don't know why they came in this envelope, but good on them. Here is the card. The reason I bought MSI is because the current card in here is an MSI. If you are buying this card, make sure you have a power supply that does support it. I think recommended total system power for this type of card is 500 watts. That's the recommended power. So if your system does not draw in total with this card more than 500 watts, then you may be able to use something that's less than that, but just keep that in mind. So this comes with 2 fans, and it has a PCI Express power connector that is 8 pin. So there should be an adapter in here for that. I think my power supply in here already has a built-in, but we'll check that just to make sure. Anyways, this is how it looks like. It looks like this is plastic plate. I mean, you get what you pay for, right? This is technically the low end of NVIDIA's current model. However, it is considered a mid-range card. So we should be able to get some really awesome frames for this. Okay, let me move this out of the way, then we're gonna open this computer up. So let's open my custom computer up. Computer, let's open it out. Up, I don't even know. Anyways, mine comes with these little screws. I like this case. It's very clean, very simple. So you just remove the screws. If you have a different type of computer, it may look differently. I'm just going to slide mine out. So I'm not going to go into too much in detail because of that, because you may have a different computer. Just make sure you get a mid-tower type of computer. If you don't have enough space, then don't waste your time. It's not going to fit inside. So here's my current card, and this is also an MSI AMD R9 390. This card is still awesome in my opinion, and it has worked for me for many years, even in virtual reality, if that is your thing. So I'm just going to remove it by disconnecting. This one comes with 2 connectors. One is a 6-pin, looks like it, and it looks like the other one is 8 pins. So I'm just going to disconnect that real quick. If you're just installing this type of card for the first time, you may not have this. Just make sure that you do have these. This other card should come with an adapter. If I'm lucky, well, there's no adapter. So we'll see how that goes. I do have 1 8-pin, so okay, so I'm good. As long as we have this, we're good to go. So we're just going to use that like so once we install it, and that should do it. So make sure you do have this. These cards should come with some kind of an adapter that lets you at least connect. And keep in mind, a lot of people that do these type of videos, they don't show you this type of stuff. However, I do, because I like to be thorough. So it's an adapter that basically turns this type of just a power connector into one of these, which are either 6-pin or 8-pin. So you attach it and it lets you connect it like that, just in case you don't have a dedicated PCIe connector like these, right? So see, a lot of the video cards also come with, you can either have 2 8-pins, some are 2 8-pins, some of there are 2 6-pins. This one is just 1 8-pin. So it draws less power than this one, supposedly. By the way, my CPU is still a really good CPU. It's an i7, and it's a 4770K. It's a bit older, but it's still really solid CPU. And I don't plan to change that anytime soon, but this year I will have another build with possibly AMD and Intel. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, you have to unscrew these screws here to free this card. If you don't have them, if you don't have a card here, then you don't have to worry about this part. Just be patient with me while I do this for the folks that may need to know how to do this. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, there's some dust in here. And yes, I will clean it once available. Once you unscrew your card, if you have one card, there's a little notch back down here that is holding the card in. So you have to actually press on that in order to release it from the PCI slot. I will zoom in for you guys so you can see. You see that? This PCI Express slot, this PCI Express slot has a little secure tab. And if you push it this way, it's going to release it. Because once you slide the card in, it goes back in and locks it. Now I have to push it on this way to release this one too. So that's very simple. You guys just kind of remember that in case you have to take it out. Okay? Now my card is released. And again, this is another AMSI, which was a really good card. It's really clean actually, so I guess I don't have much dust in my computer. This is what typically it looks like in a PCI Express slot. You have to push it on this. This thing is actually really neat. So this is an MSI board. This one you actually push down like that, which is pretty rare to see on a lot of motherboards, but this one is actually like that. So I actually struggled a little bit, but this one you push down. You push down to unlock it. So that's kind of cool. Anyways, if you do guys have cables in the way, feel free to disconnect them. It's not a big deal. You just remove them, unplug them, move them out of the way, and that's perfectly fine. My computer case is really large, so I don't have to worry about that. By the way, my power supply is a EVGA 500 watts. So if you do look for a power supply that is that size, you can certainly go for EVGA. There's also a link in the description for the same one. Okay, now I'm going to install my card. If your card came with a little protection thing that protects the little connectors here, be sure to remove it, obviously. I don't have to tell you guys are awesome. Awesome in the sense that you already know what you're doing when it comes to computers. And let me show you something real quick before I insert this. When it comes to inserting these cards, you always have to make sure that these little inserts, they go underneath here, and that's not clearly visible in a lot of cases. You can see there's a little gap underneath. I hope that comes out on the video pretty good, but there's enough room just for those inserts. Supposed to align like so and go into the PCI Express slot like that. You see there's a little gap. Make sure that's aligned properly to that so that the gap goes over the little notch, and then you push it down. And you'll know when it clicks in the back that it went down in the back properly, but just kind of make sure that these copper connectors go all the way down. And you can also see that by looking at the back to see if it actually aligned properly. So let's go ahead and do that. All you got to do is just align it. Make sure it's aligned properly. Back and forth. Don't push down anything. Don't push down on anything unless you're 100% sure that it's aligned. And then it goes in. You probably heard it click. Please make sure you take your time whenever you're doing this. So I don't want you to make a mistake. No rush. I know it's exciting, new video card and all that. By the way, you can see this one is actually a bit shorter than the other one, but it should be faster. Just make sure that the holes are aligned here. We're going to put our screws back in. And again, guys, I'm going to show you benchmarks in 4K. 1080p, we know this thing is going to crush it. 1440p, it's going to crush it. 60 frames per second. Everything maxed out on 1440p. But I do want to make it playable on 4K. And I feel like I can do that. But there's only one way to find out, and that's to watch my video, guys. Have I said that enough? Jeez, this guy trying to push his video, trying to get those view times so that YouTube can help him get more views by pushing it in front of more people, guys. Watch time, gotta have that watch time. Oh yeah, I just plugged the back in because it's just 8-pin. We're done with that, guys. Let me not waste any more time with this. Let's get to the benchmarking, guys. So needless to say, my card has been installed in my computer now. Now let me show you something real quick. Make sure you install the most current drivers, which are this at this time. And of course, make sure that you uninstall any previous drivers if you had a video card like me that's especially of a different brand. So make sure that you do uninstall them first. Remove it first before you actually do any of that we just did. So remove the AMD drivers. I mean, you don't have to, but that's what I would recommend. And then download the current NVIDIA drivers, which are this at this time. So whatever that may be, go to Google, type in NVIDIA drivers, pick the card you have, your operating system, download it and install it. So as you noticed, I'm recording this outside of the computer, not inside of the computer. So I'm not using like recording software to record a screen to give it a chance to this card to actually reach the at least 60 frames per second on computer that we have here, which are the specs as you see here. So it's an i7 with 4770K. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see better. It's i7 with 4770K, and it's not overclocked or anything. It's a standard speed, so it's a maximum of 3.5 gigahertz, which is fine. And memory is 16 gigabytes at 3900 megahertz speed in dual channel. So again, I just kind of want to point this out that if I'm recording on the computer at the same time and try to get 60 frames per second, that may not happen in 4K. So if I record it outside here, then it has a chance, because you lose sometimes 10, 15 frames per second while you're trying to record the gameplay at the same time. And also I'm recording this video specifically in 60 frames per second, so you guys can see whether it's actually smooth or not when it comes to performance. Alright, my friends, time to test. We do have a benchmark. This game is called Strange Brigade, but it has a benchmark built in. I believe this uses Unreal 4 engine. I'm not 100% sure, but 2 people do use it for benchmarks. It is set to 3840 by 2160, as you can see here. So this is 4K resolution on my monitor. Render scale was at 70%. By the way, that was leftover from my previous card, and the game ran just fine. So I'm going to leave it back to 100%, which is the actual 4K resolution that we have. I had it lowered to 70 before, and of course I had to customize things to have it running. Here I'm just going to select to Ultra, and to be fair, I'm going to customize it and remove anti-aliasing, because at this resolution we don't really need anti-aliasing. Everything else is set to Ultra. However, what I'm expecting is actually to get 60 FPS on medium settings, but let's see what happens on Ultra. And motion blur, where's our... I hate motion blur, by the way. I'm going to remove that too as one of the things we can... Anti-aliasing is set to Ultra. We're going to turn that off just to give it a fighting chance. I'm going to turn it off. Again, if you don't know what anti-aliasing is basically removes the jagged edges on items and things that you see. But with such a high resolution, you don't really need anti-aliasing. And I really can't explain that hard enough, but that's how it is. That's just simply how it is. Let's run our benchmark. Right now we're getting solid 52, 56, 55 frames per second. If you can't see that, I will show you the results. It does show over here in the left corner. Now it's 50, 51, 50 frames per second, 59, 60 frames per second right now. It's pretty darn amazing. Solid 60 frames per second. Looks like it's because